on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone. All alone.
Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets.
I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what you need.
All alone.
Vitamin J. Discussing that heat in the street, hey, we got just what you need on Vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Vitamin G.
I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone. All alone. I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what
All
you need.
alone.
Vitamin J. Ay. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. You rockin' with beats, discussing the heat in the streets. Take over the west and the east. I got what you need, a dose of this vitamin G. Vitamin G. Vitamin J, got what you need.
I'm on the outside looking in, and I wanna be back on the inside. I don't wanna be left on the outside, all alone.
Vitamin J, got what you need. Vitamin J, got what you need.
All alone.
Vitamin J. already know how I'm coming, man. Tryna run the town. Tell 'em no duck when they hear that sound. How they gon' come up now? Heavy as the head that'll wear that crown. I'm going pound for pound. And if it's about smoke, then we talk all of that. From an ounce to a pound. Take it, they biting this now. Cause my drip right out the seat. How could they be? Give me a couple of rounds. Cause I'm a beast when I'm on vitamin G. You see they start crumbling now. Mad struck start mumbling now. Get the gist, I ain't reaching for cloud. Plot twist, I'm the one with the keys. Clock blitz, know they look how it freeze. Different continents, I be torn. We living life, making yours look boring. See, we win at the end, it's a spoiler warning. Cause I keep heating up, I might blow the whole planet. They calling me toxic like global warming. But they keep tuning in once again and again. I'm the one at the top, just to form a warning. Truly, I'm De Niro when it come to movies. Get De Niro, entertain the groupies. Habanero if you come pursue me. But I hop on the gang, too busy rolled up whenever my girl getting moody. Let me go with the gang, we all go insane. Catching them doors on the duty. I'm in Stixie, I'm locked in. Bought a box, I was like 10. Back then, used to box, nowadays they ain't throwing hands. Mama said we got more advanced. One thing about me, I adapt, bought a Glock fin. Keep me safe from the block in. The game kept me off the block. Ain't got flex about looting my Rugers. I can shit on you with my computer. See my graphics card, cause one of your damn job can afford to pay you. And my monitor, big as hell, detail, so I can see when I spray you. To reload the clip and record the clip is go all say to that SSD. Know a whole lot of trill game heads like me wanna see tuned into that VGP. Take over the west and the east, and we got just what you need on vitamin G.
Oh, zero ticket? Okay, never mind then.
What is going on, people? Welcome back. It is me, your host, Zero. I haven't been a host in quite some time to the Vitamin G podcast. We're going to sort of jump right into it. Apologies for being late, but as you know, it is not a Vitamin G podcast. Something going horribly. We're having some very odd technical difficulties. But first, let me introduce my wonderful cast and crew, my friends, pals, brothers, associates, comrades, rotten soldiers, disciples, all those extras good things. We're going to start with Nappy because you've got a bunch of toys to show us. How you been, man? What you been up to?
How's it going, guys? This is Nappy Senshi here. This past last week, I had to say goodbye to my 20s. I have turned 30 years old. So I have been drinking and celebrating a lot over the past week. But I still got some gaming in. As far as gaming, for my birthday, one of the things I got treated to was it paused. Oh, you put it on your camera.
Yeah, my bad.
Okay. No, you're good. Okay, so one of the things I got is I have Thrustmaster known for steering wheels. I have a new steering wheel for my controller, for my Thrustmaster controller. So I'm working on a review on that. I have also repaired my duals. Huh?
Your video wasn't very clear.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if you guys can see it, but this is the Thrustmaster controller. And that actually they now have a steering wheel for your Thrustmaster, where you basically can turn it left and right. So that's what I'm currently reviewing. I've also got my hands on the Victrix BFG controller. This is a module controller for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and for PC. So, this is like $180 controllers, comes with all the accessories you see here. So I'm going to be working on a review on that. And also, for my birthday, because of my lady friend, she got me a nice, cool-looking sign with a controller stand where I can set my controllers on. And the cool thing about it is I can turn it on, and it changes colors. So this is actually, I love this gift a lot. I'm definitely going to be using this on my YouTube controller reviews videos. And yeah, it's always like the little creative things that like honestly like touches my heart. Like I really love this a lot. So, but as far as gaming goes, I have beaten RE4 on casual difficulty. I'm currently going through the hardcore difficulty, trying to unlock Ashley with armor because I want to get the professional S rank difficulty done so I can get unlimited ammo for all my guns. Which is, I don't know why Capcom decided to do it this way, but this is extremely hard because not only do you have to get an S rank in the whole playthrough, but you got to beat the game on professional mode in a minimum of 5 hours and 30 minutes. So, and you have to play, and you honestly need to beat the game in hardcore mode just to unlock Ashley with armor. And that's a challenge within itself. So, but that's pretty much all I got going on. Yeah, I'll give it to someone else.
What's the average time to beat RE4?
The average time when I played it for my first playthrough, it took me 10 hours. But that was my first playthrough.
It's not bad.
So, and plus I still have all my upgraded guns. So so the hardcore mode I'm going to go through with my upgraded guns. Once I beat hardcore mode, I'm gonna have like maxed out guns, and I'm going to try to do this professional one for the S rank, so that way I can get that unlimited ammos. Which is funny because the accessories in RE4 actually make like changes the effects of your characters, and for the unlimited ammo accessory, it's cat ears, which is the funniest thing ever.
Should be a mech.
So,
but I digress. Now, as we move on to a person who just fairly recently called me out, and I don't understand what that's all about. But my man Jubei, who currently looking down, like you didn't really have to repost the Dragon Ball thing. That's fine. Like, whatever. Street Fighter 6 and Tekken 8 is coming out, so like we can be in these streets.
Bet. I'll buy you a copy of Street Fighter. Cop me a copy of Tekken. I got you.
You know what? I can do that. But what you been up to, man? What you been playing?
What have I been playing? Jeez, this week has been a blur for real, this whole weekend. And I actually do a whole lot of gaming this weekend. I was out in nature for most of the weekend because the weather was nice.
Fishing season is back upon us.
Fishing season is back. I got my license this time. Yeah, I just didn't really game all that much this week, man. It's been kind of low key on that front. That's gonna change this week for sure. But
Yeah, they tell us to get out there and touch grass. You went out and touched grass in real life.
I did.
You touched
I
grass?
did touch grass in real life. I did actually, no cap. I did play some Vampire Survivor. That was like the highlight of the week.
Phil Spencer's favorite game.
Good. There's some pretty broken builds in there, man. I've been going off.
All right. Following up with that is my very, very good friend Kofi. What have you been up to, sir? Anything new in these Japanese speaking streets that we need to be aware of?
Not too much on the import side going on right now. I have successfully finished 4 imports already this year, and the next will be. Oh, I'm going through a level 5. Retouching on some of the games that I imported and never finished. One of them is called Danbou Senki. It is one of the mech fighting games slash RPGs slash animations that released on the 3DS and then were remastered with trophies and new cutscenes and everything on the Vita. So I imported that. It's a wonderful game. I just never had time for it because of Trails. But my focus right now is Octopath Traveler 2. 50 hours in, loving it. It's got a lot of dark themes. It's got a lot of pretty witty characters. The combat, it can be punishing at times. You need to make sure you're prepared with a dynamic team that can carry you. And just having a good time. I've recruited all 8 characters. Ochette right now, she is a beast girl who can tame beasts by capturing them and then almost use them like Pokemon in fights. So she is a mainstay, but of course there's a healthy variety of characters, all from different backgrounds, and I think that's what really makes it so great. So yeah, just really happy with Octopath Traveler 2, and Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I play next. I mean, so next on my list is definitely Star Ocean 6. I have not touched that game. I know I'm gonna love that game, and for some reason I haven't started
Bruh.
it. So
Bruh, you are late. I already been through both of my playthroughs
you've done it. Oh man.
with both characters already.
Wow.
They're basically the same thing. There's some slight differences, but it's basically the same thing.
Yeah,
You
I'd
know,
love
I'm
to.
Kofi, you've gotta help me out. Because I know the type of games you play. So you completed 4 games. Because all of this, I'm assuming, are JRPG.
And
Yes.
Wolong, and four RPGs and Wolong.
So that's about a 30-hour experience and about 460 to 120-hour experience, not including currently Octopath, what you're playing, which is probably another 60, maybe 80 hours.
Yes.
Exactly do you find the time?
So a majority of these games I started last year. Okay, so Trails. I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, Legend of Heroes, Kuro no Kiseki released in October of 2022. Monochrome Mobius released in November of 2022. Um, the only games that I finished from this year is Disgaea 7. Um, and then Dragon Quest X, which also released in September of 2022. So it's those 3 of the 4 I was kind of playing casually, and I only really needed to do as you described. Like maybe I would say Trails was the most work this year. I had to do like maybe another 50 hours, but the other 2 games, Monochrome Mobius and Dragon Quest X, I think I did like 40 for one, 30 for the other. And it's really during lunch breaks, or it's really um, on weekend times when family is out
The
being
kids are
busy and my
gone.
kids are asleep.
It's like, cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do this for a good 5 to 6 hours. But that you put it in perspective for me because now I don't feel
Yeah.
so bad because I'm the same way. I have a lot of games that I will probably finish in the next 2 months that were started last year.
Yeah.
But okay, that my assumption is January 1st, you started all these games. Like, how did when?
Oh, I
Where?
wish.
Like, I don't know your life fully, but I have a general sense of your life. Like, I don't understand where you find the time whatsoever. But good. All right, that makes sense. That clears it up for me. And moving on. Speaking of somebody who probably has a list of games they need to be playing, Pharaoh. How are you, good sir? What have you been up to? What have you been playing? Hopefully, it's the games that Kofi challenged you to. It's
Not been the
April, man. We run out of time.
has not been the games that Kobe challenged you to. I've been playing Yakuza. I've been slow playing that. Um and
Eight
I'm
or
sorry,
Ishin or like a dragon.
Ishin. I've been playing that. Um, but outside of his list, I played Friday and Saturday. I played the new MLB The Show game. Um, which is really cool. They have like a Negro League mode. And
Wait,
uh,
seriously?
yeah, yeah, they have a
They have
Negro
the
That's
League.
Baltimore
awesome.
Black Sox.
Well, the Negro League mode to this point, I haven't explored it in depth, but to this point, you don't have control over teams. It goes over iconic Negro League baseball players, and it tells their stories, and you get to
Oh.
simulate and play through key moments in their career. Um, so I did National Page, which is like 8 or 9 chapters that you have to go through, um, and it tells his story, which is pretty cool. Uh, Dude pitched till he was like maybe 65. No one knows because he lost his birth certificate. So
Hey,
they think he may have been 65 at the time that he played his last major league baseball game. He did make it to the major leagues. He just wasn't the first one to make it in because he was too damn good. Um, yeah, that was pretty cool. Um, I went on a tear on Madden, you know, hey Lamar, and yeah, and then what else did I play? Play some FF7 remake. Get back into that good old time. And then I played some Hi-Fi Rush. Slow playing that.
good. That MLB show sounds immensely fascinating enough for me to actually probably think about buying the game. So on the lookout for that. Pretty cool mode.
Yeah, the little
And
Negro League mode is kind of cool. Like I think they have at least like 10 players, and like to get through a story is like at least like an hour and some change of playtime. So I mean, it's a good amount
yeah,
of content.
yeah, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Well, excellent, man, excellent. And last but certainly not least, happy to welcome our friend who's feeling much better, um, and sort of going about life far better than he was before. Omar, welcome back, sir. What you been up to? I'm sure you
Uh,
got a lot of gaming in. So what you been playing?
Real talk, I have not been gaming that much because COVID was killing me.
Get it?
The first few weeks were like throat pain, this, that, uh, body pain, head pain, headache, like all sorts of pain. You name it, it exists. But yeah, I was able to play. I got a few games. First of all, I got One Piece Odyssey. And last week I bought Octopath Traveler 2. So I joined the coffee movement. When it comes to the game that I played that I hate, it's called Valkyria Chronicles, and it's so bad. I
You don't like
wasted,
Valkyria Chronicles? Really?
yeah, Valkyria Chronicles, it's almost like a spin-off of the actual Valkyria, not Chronicles.
You're talking
Jesus.
about the Revolution. What was it called? Blue
Yeah, Valkyria
Revolution? Right?
Revolution. Thank you, thank
Oh,
you,
okay,
thank you.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard some
Th-
things about that game.
So bad. I dropped that shit in an instant. And yeah, so I played Little Noah. I highly recommend it to the people that love Metrovania, but also love a game like Folklore, because you're out there collecting monsters that fight for you. Every single run is different, but that's almost like not per se true because you're bound to get the strongest monster and call it a day. Like so, it's very easy to play that game. Also, in order to get the platinum, you need to beat the entire game without getting hit. I already beat 2 or 3 bosses without getting hit, but some bosses I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. When it comes to Octopath, Kofi, I have a question because I
Yeah.
wanted to ask Nate about it. Um, I've played my few shares of JRPG. Um, to me, Octopath feels like a refresher, almost like an evolution for the turn-based genre. I never imagined in my wildest dreams that JRPG can, or rather turn-based, can be so, how do I say, in depth. Would you agree or disagree?
Um, I really like the turn-based mechanics in Octopath. But what holds me back from keeping it at the top of the I enjoy it more than Persona. I'm gonna put that out there. But what keeps me from putting it at the very top is I like Chained Echoes just as much. And I'm conflicted on which type of combat I prefer because there are a lot of things in Chained Echoes that really clicked for me. Just like Octopath, and I hold them in equality at this point. 2 different turn-based RPGs with a kind of like 2D aesthetic. But it is very good. It is very good. Yeah, so there are other turn-based games like for example the new Trails games. Kind of compete at that level, in my opinion as well. I know those aren't localized yet, so I'll reserve my opinions. But there are some other games that I think kind of get close to Octopath. But why do you like it? Do you like the BP system? What makes you excited? You guys still there?
Yeah, we're still
Omar
here.
still here?
Yeah, still here.
Well, we might have dropped Omar.
Okay.
Sorry,
But
sorry
there
about
you go.
that. I love. I started as Osheta. I love summons. She is the closest thing to a summoner. Um, and just the voice acting already. Every single character is voiced, semi-voiced, you can say. The story is very interesting, and the combat. It doesn't hold your hands, and even when you go, it literally open up where you can actually go wherever you want. And if you play it smart, like for example with Osheta, you can actually find a healing spirit or monster that help you, so you can play it your own style. And it's very refreshing from the hand holding games. Despite the fact that I'm a fan of hand holding, I find this very refreshing, very in depth, especially with the job system that I have yet to touch. So yeah, I'm having a lot of blast with it. That's why.
Okay.
It's good. It seems
Mhm.
fair to say that, particularly with Chain Deck and Octopath, which are very clearly inspired by JRPGs of old, that instead of
Yeah.
sort of reinventing the wheel, it's perfected it.
Yeah.
And what seems to be what people are like really latching on and getting into.
Really
So
quick.
that's Mhm.
Sorry, really quick. I think Pharaoh. I think you would love this game. I think you would love Hikari, his story. I think you would love Throne and how dark her story is. It is at some points gut wrenchingly dark. And the last thing I was going to say is the only negative I have with Octopath that I think kind of like makes me always have something like Chained Echoes or I don't know, Trails game is character interactions are not alive for a particular person's story. So if you're with Ochette and you're in chapter 3, other characters can have dialogue moments that are not voiced, but they're
Mm.
not there in the story living it with Ochette.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's okay because the story is just so good. But you kind of I always miss that party experience, like what does
Mm.
Ochette's friends think of this in the moment? And that little touch is what's still missing from 2. But other than
I
that,
I think to do that you would have need to program it very differently because I could have started with Osheta and went and picked up Ikari, while you could have went for Oswald or Kathy.
yeah.
So it then yeah, the game would be very difficult to program where if you're with Osheta and Oswald, they're gonna interact always. Yeah, I would rather them do this than pack it up, but that's just me.
and no, I conveniently hear that nobody has mentioned who was his name? Partio or Particio
Oh
But
yeah, yo.
with the
So
most
I don't know
yo,
about
amazing
them. I
soundtrack of
don't know
all
about
time.
them. I only have
so his
3
soundtrack is
characters.
great. And in the Japanese version, guess who his voice is?
Mhm.
Zoro from One Piece, which is
Oh, oh,
fucking
oh, oh, oh. Well, guess who is Harvey voiced with? One
oh
is
heart.
Aokiji from One Piece. I had no idea. I recognize him from The World, which is Dio Brando from
Ooh,
JoJo Bizarre Adventure.
you said Harvey?
Yeah.
Ooh, you talking
Oswald
about Oswald's
Bravo.
villain? Okay.
Yeah.
You. What's more interesting? I don't know if you're into Guilty Gear, but uh,
No.
Oswald Oswald is the main guy, sole bad guy.
Oh,
Mhm.
nice.
And
I
what's the connection for me is that actor is the main villain of Cold Steel. So like when I
mm.
hear him, I'm like, that's the villain. That's so it's
Now,
a bit
now
weird.
you're making me wanting to pick up that character that is voiced by Zoro because I
Oh,
love Zoro. I
he's
love the
such a
voice act.
diamond in a difficult situation. You're gonna love Particio. I mean, I'm only through chapter 3, I think, but his story so far is like it sucks you in. So yeah,
Yeah, the theme was amazing the moment I heard it. All right, this will be the first person I start with.
yeah. He gets like 30% off purchasing things, and things are expensive. So you want somebody like him in your party when you're visiting towns.
Oh, good. That is absolutely wonderful. And of course, for me, honestly, not a lot. I've been uh I will be finishing Bravely Default 2 probably in the next week or so. Finishing up Hogwarts, but I am mostly sort of stuck on Slay the Spire. It's just one of those games really hard to put down, pick it up again. So working through that. Otherwise, sort of like Jubei, didn't do much gaming this weekend or this past week. Went and saw, so I highly recommend that, well versed in Dungeons and Dragons. I had an absolute thing. So like I get into our very first topics, and it seems that our very first topic will be in regards to voice exception to her and her unfortunate sort of departure from a lot of her social platforms. For those of you who don't know, and I apologize, I'm not sure I get her name right. Uh, what is her? Can
Oh, the
someone help me
actual
with her name?
actor's name.
I
Good
think her name
question.
is Lily Gao.
Lily Gao.
That's
Yes.
our first topic of
For
the day. Yep.
yeah, for those of you guys who don't know, Lily Gao is currently the voice actress for famous Asian person Ada Wong in the Resident Evil 4 remake. Ada, of course, being probably it's got to be like she's top 3 most popular characters of the Resident Evil series, right? Like, and arguably it has to be Jill, Wesker, and Ada.
Yeah, we know Rebecca and Sheva are in last.
Yeah, and I guess
Damn.
maybe Leon is like.
I'm gonna say Leo. They all punch boulders. Come on now.
I mean,
like,
Chris.
maybe-
Chris punch boulders.
I'm sorry. Chris punch boulder. Leon's just a pretty boy that just crashes every single vehicle he drives.
I think
Yeah,
in Japan he was just voted the most popular character. Leon.
Who, Leon? I think that
Yeah.
makes sense. Chris is just a Chad, and like whatever, Chris.
Boulder
So-
punching chat.
Yeah, he's just a boulder punching Chad. So it seems as though Ada Wong's popularity obviously huge. Resident Evil 4, the remake, is obviously huge. Unfortunately, particularly on Metacritic over the weekend, I think it's changed now. There was a huge amount of review bombing that focused a lot on voice actor Lily Gao and her portrayal of Ada Wong. She is not the original voice actress. Capcom did bring back the original. We don't know why. But unfortunately, due to general internet assholery, if you're specifically, as though it was her choice to voice, sort of pushed her off of a lot of her social. She sort of disappeared from that. All for effectively doing her job. It is an unfortunate situation. But Nappy, I know you. But how do we feel about
Honestly, overreacting down. Ada Wong isn't real. Like Ada Wong was first introduced in RE2. Like, yeah, Ada Wong had like a specific voice actor. She had a specific way of how she portrayed herself. But then, like, you got to come think about it. The last time we heard Ada Wong's voice before the remakes was Resident Evil 6. And that, I remember playing that when I was in 2012. I was like 18, 19 years old. I just turned 30 in RE4 remake. And I understand, like, when you hear Ada Wong's voice and also Wesker's voice, also, I still think she did a good job as portraying as Ada Wong. Directors and people decide to, like, it's okay to have their voice actors. More like, it's okay for the voice actor not to sound exactly like the original. Harass somebody over, like, a voice actor. Put the controller down, go outside, touch some grass, or around some mud. Like, there's a lot of things you could do. It's okay to be upset about the voice actor, but don't go harassing this woman. It's honestly, the directors and everyone, the ones that picked her for the job, they know her voice did not sound like the Ada Wong that we all know and love. It's not always a bad thing. For some people, clearly for some people that are clearly butthurt, they see it as a bad thing. But I'm like, I mean, yeah, her voice actor is different. Her voice in the game is clearly different, but she still does a decent job portraying Ada Wong, and I think she did a good job despite her voice not being original Ada Wong voice, and I think I can get over that. I don't know about other people, but like I said, I still enjoy her character. Also, fun fact, apparently some data miners found Ada Wong's model and playable animations. So there may be something coming along with DLC, possibly, but it's not in this game. It's not the remake. But data miners have found a working Ada and working animations with working quick time events. So they're going to probably sell it to us and we're going to buy it. But overall, like, yeah, again, because if you guys, I don't see no one going after Wesker, because Wesker's voice actor was clearly different. Like, y'all need to, like, are we allowed to say the word, the SIMP ish word?
What, simp?
On social. Oh, okay, yes, okay, we can say simp. Yeah, y'all sipping for a regular character. Like, guys, the girls, Ada's Long's not even real. Calm down. Like, go outside. Just it's okay.
And Nap, you bring up a good point, and I want to like sort of tailor this question specifically to about like Jubei Mar. Jubei, you and I are big Destiny people. A few years ago, we got a sort of dramatic shift in a voice actor from Peter Dinklage, who famously played Ghost in Destiny 1 and through about the first quarter of Destiny 2, only to inevitably be replaced by Nolan North, who arguably
Really? I didn't even know that.
I think it's Nolan. I will look it up while Jay responds. But we've watched it, and there was sort of this idea that clearly the new Ghost is better. But part of that, though, right? And Jubei, I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it. The direction that Peter Dinklage was given as Ghost just wasn't very good, right? Like they didn't seem to like tell him to do anything other than speak without any sort of inflection or anything. Jerry, what are your thoughts in regards to like it's not the voice actor's fault, right? Like it clearly it has to be the director.
Right, because the directors can sit here and hear that. Somebody had to say okay. That went across somebody's desk and somebody said, yeah, that's it. Even if it wasn't it. That's the director's job, is to make sure it is it. You feel me? Like even with the Peter Dinklage thing, like it was cool having him in the game, but like it wasn't anything special. He like you said, he was literally just talking. Like, I mean, and I get it, he's a robot. I mean, really expect a robot to have like emotion and shit, but I mean, they brought in Nolan. It's like he just did phenomenally with it. Like, you started actually caring about Ghost at that point. Like, that was like your little buddy, not just like this guy telling you that from the moon.
And that's the thing, right? Like, clearly, I think we can all agree. After Peter, they decided to start giving Nolan some level of direction. And all right, here's what we want Ghost to actually sound like. As opposed to like Peter, just go ahead and do it and be on your way. They were like, all right, Nolan, here's our thought process. You do this act, and we will let you know how good it is. So it's one of those fascinating things. Jubei, you said it. Like it went across somebody's desk, and it probably went across a lot of somebody before it got to the final product. All along the way, everyone said this is good enough. But there's the argument to be made. If they're saying it's good enough, is it really her fault? Right?
No.
Like she's just performing. Everyone else said this is fine. And thank you for that, Jubei. Omar, sort of along the same line. You mentioned One Piece. I know you're a huge fan. Love Zoro. Say, for instance, Oda just decides, you know what? Zoro's going to be played by a different voice actor, and that voice actor sucks. Or you just don't necessarily like it. They don't not even say they suck. You just don't necessarily like it. Who's the first person you're blaming? You might be on.
Omar?
Omar, you there? It's okay.
All right. Well, I will circle back. Well, I can still present it same way for you then, Kobe, because let's take one of your favorite Trials characters. You take this character, and I don't. Do you know who the director of the Trials games are?
His name is Toshihiro
Hello?
Kondo.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, we can hear you, Omar.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I my mic, but go ahead, Coffee. I will go after you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Toshi's like, we're going to change. Off the top of my head, the first person I can remember is Crow.
Yeah.
but we're going to like change Crow completely. The idea is, who are you pointing the finger at if you do not like the Crow performance?
This is such a great question, because actors have changed in the English version and the Japanese version, and some are just like knocking out the park. This is one particular character named Toa. Her English voice actor, when I hear her, I'm like, that is perfect. Like, I don't want, like, pay her whatever she want. And then there's some other changes where I go, they come off a little bit flat. But I think you're totally right. When there's somebody who says that is a correct portrayal of the character that I wrote, and you're just here to kind of, step in to do what I'm directing, you got to blame the director for accepting that level of effort, or that tone or energy. Um, so it's a multiple way highway, and I'm part of a lot of communities that care a lot about the voice actor. For example, the visual novel turned RPG series I just played called Monochrome Mobius has a voice actor who died, and there was a lot. I mean, even though he died, that was what the number one concern was when the next game came out. Like, can they, because it was a visual novel and so much voice acting is in it, they're like, can anybody actually replace him? And somehow they found a guy, and again, this is the Japanese version, who he's really good. Like, when I hear the original and him, I'm like, whoa, that's two different people. They just got really fortunate in that way, because sometimes it is looked down upon when the voice actor feels off. So I guess I could say I kind of understand seeing. So I looked at a comparison of the Ada Wong of Resident Evil 4, the original, and the remake. And yeah, in my opinion, I do think she comes off a little bit flat, to be honest with you. There are some parts where I feel like Ada Wong always had some sort of tone of like, I'm more dangerous, but I am a little bit kind of like promiscuous, or something
A
like
promiscuous
that.
danger.
Yeah,
Promiscuous girl. Is
yeah.
that song?
And I feel like because the lines are exactly the same. Okay, so different from what you guys were describing in Destiny, where it sounds like a character took over, but he was doing new things as that character, not doing old lines again. So when you hear it's 1-to-1, and she's saying promiscuous things, but she doesn't have the promiscuous tone, and it's like,
I will
it
say,
just
as someone, I would
go
say
ahead.
someone who played the game, they actually have cut back a lot on the whole flirting thing compared to the original,
Yeah.
compared to the remake. Because the original, they were throwing shots at each other left and right. In the remake,
may
they
not-
toned that down significantly.
And that's what the memes were about. I know there's like a comic book that somebody has out on Twitter that gets really popular, where like Ada's always saying something sexual to Leon, and he doesn't know what is going on.
But that might not be on the
Yeah.
director. That might not be on the actor. That might be on the director. Like,
That's what I was saying. Like,
yeah.
but the fact that the lines are like almost so similar, it's like, I would rather it have been. But that's the issue, Pharaoh. Like, if you don't want her to be promiscuous, that's fine. But the lines are the same. The lines are the same. So it's like,
Yeah.
so I don't know. But at the same time, all the harassment and the fact that she either like deactivated her comments or turn off her turn off her Instagram.
Instagram's gone.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I feel for her, because I know she was probably so excited to get a role like this, especially because if there ever is another game that's remade or another secret, this is her opportunity to be a mainstay. So,
And I think maybe earlier today or at some point they went live, like the voice cast went live, and I believe she was there. But you're right, she might be Ada Wong for the foreseeable future.
yeah.
So it might take some people might have to get used to it.
Yeah,
And Omar, it's sort of like the same question.
Yeah.
And Kofi mentioned the specific thing that I want you to like speak on.
Okay.
Let's say, for example, if I come at it from an anime perspective, let's say, for example, Zoro's voice actor died.
Well, it actually happened with Nami voice actor during the
Did
Troll
Nami's voice actor
Tsunami.
die?
Yeah. During
Oh,
the
no.
Troll Tsunami, and was
Mhm.
replaced. And so far, I know from the fandom didn't even, talk about it
Right.
because, death and all that jazz. So when a person dies, then it's difficult to almost like criticize it because it's dead. However, if they replace the OG voice actor for Zoro with a different guy that doesn't sound cool, that doesn't sound believable, nah, trust me, fandom will riot. Will
Facts.
absolutely riot.
Zoro's a very important character for voice. Like you need to have that
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But do you think that fandom would specifically attack the actor or the people who made the change?
They would absolutely attack the actor, I think. And mostly because fanatic peeps are always gonna do that. As for me, I'm just gonna, move on. Like, hey, it's just anime, dude. It's just a character. Yeah, your line's not gonna be as epic, but that's life. Like, if you wanna voice your opinion, just type in Zoro new Zoro voice actor sucks, and that's it. Call it a day. You don't need to tag the main guy. So here's the thing. I may contradict myself with this one, but when people love a voice actor, they tag that person and say how much of a great voice actor he have. Um, so I'm of the belief that okay, so it's almost like a slippery slope. If you can tag the person and say how good your voice actor is, I believe you should be able to tag the person and say, hey, that voice acting didn't hit well. What I disagree with is going after the person and say, hey, you suck, go kill yourself and all that jazz, and I'm gonna dox you and all that jazz. That I disagree with. But if not if voice actors are happy with praises, they might as well should be willing to take on the hate, the backlash, because that's a reality of thing. As long you keep it cordial, I believe you should voice your opinion. Don't voice that person for voice actor of the year. Simple.
Right. So fair to say, like, expect some level of criticism,
Yeah,
but don't
don't go overboard.
yeah,
Like
don't go
especially don't go
overboard.
overboard. Like this type of moment makes the entire gaming fandom look like toxic because of what happened. And I know Twitter is just what we call it echo
Twitter is the best
chamber.
place to get opinion.
Yeah, and the outside world is not as much, but still, social media, what we call it, journalists and all that jazz, they feed on this stuff and they feed on
Yeah.
social media.
Uh,
So they get stuff like this.
Yeah. I got one more thing to say. I just looked up how many people voice acted Ada Wong. She had a total of 10 different voice actors.
Yeah, so they don't even know which Ada they even.
They don't even know what.
Exactly. I was like, who voiced Ada Wong? They said 10 different voice actors, and I'm like,
well, maybe they're getting mad at the
Jesus.
tone that this voice actor
No,
used.
Yeah.
I don't know. I never played that game yet. Nappy, you played it.
Yeah.
Why do you think they're mad? Can you think of a reason why?
Oh, I know exactly what. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, so basically, it's the same thing like Kofi was saying earlier. Like, for all the characters across the board, Capcom said that they toned down like the whole flirting thing. And one thing with Ada Wong is she always had like this flirting thing going on with Leon. Like she had this like devious, like promiscuous, a danger. Like it's okay to look, but you damn sure don't touch.
Which, like,
But-
immediately is kind of weird, right? Like, we're in Spain, weird parasites are popping out of people's heads, and occasionally she will appear and be like,
Oh,
Leon, like, And
Oh,
like,
yeah. If you
So they
think-
should have
hold up.
changed the lines.
If you hold up, why are we talking about this then? Because did any of you guys see the post about what's her name? Not Eddie. Fucking the woman, not Neon. The woman with Neon. Ashley. Have you seen
Oh,
the post about Ashley? How
Ashley.
her mini
Oh, I
skirt
know what you're
is
talking
not
about.
visible? How this? How that? I'm like, you you people are legit fucked up. Like that
So,
messed up to the right
so
Well,
really
degree.
quick,
I wouldn't say they're
so that's
fucked
two
up.
different. Go ahead, Pharaoh.
I mean, you're paying for an M-rated game, so I'm expecting that you're as an M-rated game purchaser, you're expecting M-rated content that was similar to what you saw in the previous game.
Yeah, but there's actually one thing that you have to take in mind. One, it's an M-rated game because it has a crap ton of blood and gore and decapitations and stuff.
But I'm just saying
But Ashley's.
I'm just saying as a
sorry.
purchaser, you just expect mature content. That's all.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. The thing about Ashley's like character and stuff, that's actually a real person.
Right.
There was actually a situation. There's actually a situation that happened with I'm gonna go back to CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk. There was a mod that came out that someone created that lets you to have sex with Keanu Reeves. And CD Projekt Red immediately jumped on that and be like, yo, whoa, we can't do that. This is real people. You're making, even though it's like a virtual AI version of that person, it's still a real person.
Oh, it's almost like deep. It's almost deep fakey.
Yes, similar to deepfake and the AI stuff. Like you're making somebody do something or make them wear something they're not supposed to wear. Hence why you would probably have an extremely hard time finding those like maid outfits and all that stuff on Nexus mods because they keep on taking them down. Like it's I understand like people like they love like their whole like dressing people in sexy outfits and stuff. Like that's cool and all, but now we're getting to the territory where it's there's actual real actors playing these roles in these video games. And because of that,
so it's no longer polygons. That's why they
like,
toned it down.
people are still stuck in the Dead or Alive beach volleyball days. They want to see it all.
Yeah, so
they are.
You can't. I think Ada Wong's actually. I'm not sure because I looked at Ada Wong, I look at her voice actor, and they look like damn near identical. I don't. Damn. They look pretty close. Like I don't know if they used her face or not. If they did, then yeah, that means that Ada Wong, that actor is actually Ada Wong, which means that she's also like don't be modding because you might actually get in trouble because this is an actual real person.
Yeah.
And so really quick, to give a little context about why she got harassed, there's a very popular YouTuber. I think her name is like Zuki Hunter.
I know who she is.
You know who I'm talking
the
about.
one that started the whole mob with.
She definitely kicked off the mob mentality. She's like you're saying. Yeah, she's a huge. She's no. Well, maybe what you're talking about is true, but she's a huge Resident Evil fan, and in her review, she has like a ton of followers. She said that her acting in this game almost ruined the game for her. And I think it's her saying, "Oh my gosh, Resident Evil 4 is the best video game ever made," and they put this marring on it, and because it's on this pedestal for me, I have to criticize it in this way. But it sent all these fans in droves to her Instagram, like, "Oh, I can't believe you're trash," and all this. So then they came back to her, and then she was like, "Look, that's my take, but I didn't want you to attack, her." So it was messy.
So
she also voice actor her apology.
So it's not even her own. What do call it? It's not even their own thinking. They're just going through to what she said, which again bugged my mind. Yeah, this is what influencers are slippery slope. As an influencer, you should know what you say is gonna be used not against you, but almost like because of you. And this is not the first time that she got into hot water. She is the first one to jump on the whole Bayonetta 3 voice after exchange and stuff like that, and the money and all that jazz. And she drummed up the hate mob. So, hey.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. Yeah.
And that's a bold claim. I mean, I haven't played Resident Evil in a long time, so I just can't remember how much like screen time Ada gets. But to say
Right.
like it almost ruined the entirety of the game for you, which I'm sure the entirety of the game is mostly Leon.
I think it's all
Yeah.
about.
It's an odd statement to say. It's a fair one. Odd statement to say. But I want to at least get. I know that's fair. I know you've chimed in. But anything sort of additional that you add.
I just think it's like what everyone said. I think it's outrageous. The original Ada Wong voice actor. The last time when Resident Evil 4 came out, like I said before the show, like Blockbuster was still around because me and Kofi rented that game and played it when it released first. Week it came out. I remember that running around with the Gatling gun. So I just don't get. I don't get the outrage. Like the voice actor is doing the job that the company is asking to do, and if that was the tone that she gave off and you didn't like it, it's because someone above her told her to give that tone. Like it's not like you just. It's not like you just submit your voice acting and they're just like, oh, whatever, it's all good to go. Like no, it gets scrutinized by someone above them, and it gets yay or nay whether or not it's good enough to be put into the video game as content. So what you thought of her job, whether it was good or bad, is not on her per se. It's on the people above her who actually cleared it. I don't get why you give that type of backlash to these people who take these roles, like the come at Capcom or figure out who the director is of Capcom and say, hey, we expect more from these voice lines. Why didn't you maintain the original tone of this game as opposed to attacking a specific individual for not liking how they perform?
I think maybe because voice actors tend to reply more than Capcom themselves or PlayStation themselves. That's why they're gonna do it.
Yeah, you want to attack a person instead of
Yeah.
But like I said, you can reach out. You can.
You want to attack a company instead of a
Yeah.
person. You
Well,
meant.
it doesn't have to be the company. You can reach out to the director and say, "Hey, why did you choose to, tone down this part of the game? Like
I think
it lessened my
I think most
experience." And let
I
them
think
know
most
that
people
as opposed to attacking an individual.
I think most people don't even know who the director is. That's
Well,
what
it's
comes
in the
down to.
credits. Don't be lazy.
I would say
You looked her up. Look him up. Look that person up.
That's the
If you
reality
got
of
if you
thing.
got if you got enough time, you got enough time to find out who that voice actor is, and you got enough time to figure out who the director is. You can ask them, about some of their choices they made in the design.
Hey, that's how they think.
They're on the same credits.
They do them.
Yeah, I mean, this. Oh god, this is stupid.
it's an odd thing. It's an unfair thing, and
Yeah.
here Vitamin support all of her endeavors
Mm-hmm.
forward. As far as I can tell, she's a fine Ada. Probably not the greatest of the 10 Adas, but still one. Maybe not the worst either. So like whenever they have like a sort of Ada off, then we can figure it out from there.
Mm-hmm. I have a
But
question.
yeah.
If she were to act all mixed and stuff like that, would that have made it better? Or is it just the delivery that didn't hit? For you.
I think it's more so the delivery of some of her stuff. Like it's like like I said, Capcom honestly would just remake to kind of tone it down because again they even said themselves like we're in a zombie apocalypse. Like there's this parasite that's affecting everyone. Leon's infected. Like and then when she comes in, like she toned it down. Like she did a little like very small things, but it does come off a little flat. But it did not ruin the gameplay experience. Like it did call me off guard when I first heard Ada. When Ada talked at first, I was like, wait, that's Ada? That can't be Ada. But then after a while, I was like, okay, this is Ada. This is what they're going for. So she plays more of a serious tone.
I remember Forbidden West went through the entire exact same thing. But then people were like, you do realize it's a zombie, not zombie, it's an apocalypse. They're not gonna have makeup and use makeup for their face. Like, but there it's way less fixated on the voice actor, but more of the character model. Why doesn't look like she's wearing makeup? So people are weird. They genuinely are weird. And hey,
It
At
is.
that point, just go outside.
touch
There are
grass.
real touch grass. There are real opposite gender people or whatever you want to go for. They exist outside in the world. Just put the controller down,
There's
put your shoes on,
OnlyFans.
go outside.
Yeah.
I mean, no, actually, no, go outside and meet
Do
people.
this.
OnlyFans. There's Twitter.
I say go
Literally
outside.
exist.
No, I'm saying actually go outside and meet them. They don't get out your computer screen. Go outside. Go
outside.
It's
Find where they live. Hide outside of their house.
oh shit! No, no.
Zero, hold up. No, we're
Meet
not
them in
doing
a
that.
public setting. In a public setting.
Hide behind the bushes with your Pokeball and go catch
Yes,
one.
Oh my god!
Even
I get you.
not even then. Leave it. No. Now you guys made it even far worse.
Oh
Leave
my
it to
god!
social media.
As a matter of fact, just stay in the house. And at that point, just stay in the house. If you can't communicate properly, just stay in the house.
You said it. You guys said it in a joking way, but there are legit crazy people that will actually do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they are. How many Twitch streamers? Like Amaranth had some random person send her 10K in a cell phone and some other things in her PO box.
I think
and with a love letter.
I think our podcast only appeals to the sane segment of social media and YouTube watchers at the moment. I don't think we have too many crazies in here yet. We invite you though, crazies. Come join the show. We'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah, you know what? Your point of view is interesting. We'll hear it out. But good. So I think we have covered that. Again, much support to Gal in all of her current and further endeavors. But moving on, I want to jump to. I don't know if we have them in order, but I want to jump to sort of the PSVR2. I think from a time perspective.
Well, we can jump wherever.
Yeah.
Oh, and topic 2 is PSVR2. You get to jump right.
Cool. So yeah, because I think we might only get through 3, and the last one I think because the last one's probably going to be 5. But you know, let's circle over to Sony Land, where PSVR2 doesn't seem to be doing so very well. I'll read just a brief snippet from this is a Bloomberg article. Essentially, it says Sony Group is projected to sell fewer than 300,000 PlayStation VR2 headsets in the first week of the market. A slow start for the company's efforts to take a leading role in development of the metaverse. That feels a little inflammatory. I do not think that Sony specifically is leading the metaverse, but sure. The Tokyo-based console maker is likely to sell about 270,000 units of the PSVR2 between its February 22nd release and the end of March, according to estimates from the research from the IDC. Sony has a lofty goal of making about 2 million units for the PSVR2's launch window, Bloomberg reported last year. So we won't. Well, we will go strictly to part of the IDC's statement on why perhaps these sales aren't necessarily hitting, where it says consumers around the world are facing rising costs of living, rising interest rates, and rising. It says IDC's Franco Jerome, Vice President of Data and Analytics. VR headsets are not top of the mind for most consumers under the economic climate. So we'll stop there because I think that covers sort of the whole thing. And currently, as it stands, Sony has not said anything about which, you know, and mean they're concerned or mean they're not concerned. Find out. But of course, you know, we got to kick it to our Sony guys first. Kofi, first, and well, I'll lead with everyone for this. Do you own a VR headset? Have you ever been interested in getting? Have you used one? And then where do we stand on effectively about 270,000 units of the PSVR when they were and they're expecting?
Okay, so I'm going to try to answer those 4 questions. So I have only used the PSVR 1, and it was to play Wipeout, which was one of the more interesting games that was available for the PSVR 1 because of its high frame rate ability and the immersion of racing with with Wipeout, which is such an iconic IP. I really, really enjoyed that. In general, was I interested in VR1? Not at all. I thought it was clumsy. I thought there was too many cables. There wasn't really any IP that got me really excited about it. But PSVR2 does have some things that would have me interested. The top two IPs for me would be No Man's Sky and Gran Turismo 7. For people who don't know, Gran Turismo 7, I'm sorry, Gran Turismo Sport had VR support, but it was severely limited. There was no online play. Literally, you could play with one AI opponent in an offline race. It was very anemic in its features. So this time around, having the full immersion, I've heard really good things. And then, of course, there's other games that I would dabble in, with No Man's Sky and that. For example, like going to play Astrobot, something I've never touched on. Um, and so the other reason why I haven't bought one now is the first thing I want to get as an accessory is a wheel, because I do want to play Gran Turismo with a wheel, and saving up for that's also not cheap. So, I'm taking my time with the headset because the wheel will definitely come first. Okay, so in terms of the sales, again, it was somewhere between what 200 and 270,000,
Yeah.
under 300. Say again.
Yeah, you're about right. 270,000.
270,000. And according to Sony themselves, I think it was less than they expected. Definitely, um, I think it's going to be a little bit of a tough pill for them to swallow because I think they believed that something like Call of the Mountain and the Horizon IP would be enough to kind of take it over the top and to have some sort of really impressive sales record. At the same time, I think the community's response to the tools, leave some legs for this thing to sell when the price feels right for gamers. And obviously, yes, spending $1,000 on a PlayStation and a headset is a heavy buy. Even though we know during this time that PlayStations were selling very well, at least in the United States and Japan, right in the middle of February when this launched. So it's a very interesting time where people are finally getting PlayStations and then buying a lot of these bundles, playing God of War, and maybe Call of the Mountain is falling under the radar because of all the huge IPs that they're just catching up on. And I understand that Horizon and Gran Turismo, they're all out on PS4. But what I'm seeing is a lot of people are buying PS5s and then playing these new IPs just for that. And then of course, Hogwarts had come out, so I know a lot of people I know literally thought Hogwarts was an exclusive and would go out and like buy a PS5 just for Hogwarts. So I think that was probably burying any news of a VR headset because of just the impact of that IP. So I think with some sort of smart price reduction, with some sort of smart bundling with a interesting IP, there could be some really cool things sales wise through the holiday season. So, for example, a lot of Sony studios have dabbled in VR tech, and I'm very curious if they're going to continue to expand in that. Fire Sprite, Pixel Opus, um, I'm forgetting the name of the other developer, but they've all had VR additions to their game. In fact, Firesprite made a VR roguelike called The Persistence, it's called The Persistence, which is a very high rated first person roguelike game. Definitely not something that I would be excited for, but I think there's a space for VR teams to kind of take advantage of that. Oh, well, we know that Insomniac has also done VR. There's a lot of teams at Sony that have done VR. So with compelling IPs comes opportunity to sell the hardware. So it's about consistency. It's about for the next three. I look at it like this: for the next 3 years, if you can continue to pump out something interesting, right? Maybe Asobi Studio puts out something nice. Maybe Pixel Opus shows out and puts something nice. Maybe a smaller portion of Insomniac puts out something nice. Then people will say, "Hey, PSVR is still a competitively, um, in terms of its tech, it's still competitive with the best in the market. I might as well buy that because I have my PlayStation now." I think that's still an avenue for them, and I guess overall, I think VR it being so small right now, we kind of all want this to sell, whether it's Oculus or Meta, whatever, so that we can kind of see the next evolution of gaming, right? We want to see where this can go beyond looking at a screen. So we're kind of all rooting for it. We just need to make sure things are lined up. And there's obviously some gaps with primarily IPs, secondary price.
Uh,
You're making an interesting point. And I was going to come to you, Pharaoh. Particularly, Kofi. Say we all want this to succeed. Pharaoh, do we? Like, are we? Are you, or do you think we all are terribly interested in the fate of VR as a whole?
uh, Me personally, I am hopeful that VR becomes a thing. A new way to play and experience games is to me is never a bad thing. Um, when it comes to the PSVR2, I just don't think that the same people who are interested in VR necessarily um PlayStation owners per se. And my memory, I mean, someone please correct me, but even with the original PSVR, and its sales, most of it was with it being tied to you purchasing a different product. Like they were doing bundles where you bought the PS4 Pro and it came with the move sticks and the eye and the VR headset. They were doing those bundles. They were doing bundles with their Sony TVs and PlayStation. They were doing bundles with the TVs and the VR. So I just I don't think even in the previous generation Sony was getting their PSVR sales from people walking in to just buy a PSVR headset. Um, so I don't think they've done enough to bring in a market for PSVR. I think the your current PlayStation owners, a lot of them are content with what PlayStation first party has to offer them um from their console has and then the third party games that come along with it. Um and there isn't um there isn't enough compelling content for the Sony base in my eyes from for VR. Um, Sony gamers expect high quality games, quote unquote bangers, game of the year contenders, and if those type of games aren't coming to the PSVR headset, a lot of those people aren't going to champion it um, for there to be those sales. Um, Because being that it's new technology, if you're not getting a lot of word of mouth that it's awesome and this and that, you're also not gonna get sales. Like there's not a commercial that's gonna have the impact that someone you know saying, "Oh, I got the PSVR and it's fire." Like they have these great games on there, and we're just not getting that. So um, I think that's kind of the thing that's holding it back.
And I like that point, specifically, and I'm going to come to you, Omar, because uh, it seems as though PSVR flagship title was Call of the Mountain. Horizon's a big deal. One of the greater top tier PlayStation games in the last like 10 years. People love Alloy and the adventures in Horizon. Call of the Mountain, uh, on paper, seems like a smart move to make. Take one of our biggest IPs, put it in VR, bring everybody there. But I noticed even through your reaction, like you have a much stronger reaction to is it the Burning Isles?
Burning Shore. The
Burning
DLC
Shore.
is looking
Yeah.
stunning.
You have a much stronger reaction to the Burning Shores DLC announcement than you did for the Call of the Mountain. And so my question is, one is that is it largely because you don't own a PSVR, I know, because you're not terribly interested in it. I know they're pricey, and then it's just sort of like, it's really not nothing to draw me there to it. Specifically because if I'm saying, hey Omar, you're a Sony guy, Call of the Mountain, do hot VR game, but Burning Shores here, you're like, no, I'm just gonna do Burning Shore. This is sort of what I like. Is that like, is that your perspective on this? Like, you love Horizon, but if you're going to have to choose up the two Horizon games, it's not going to be VR, right?
Okay, so for me, it's a bit different because I was saving money for a PC. I never owned a VR, so me buying a VR would be not only a big deal but also a big investment. Because I have no idea if it's gonna suit me well. It's gonna not make me nausea. It's not gonna make me give me headache or whatsoever. And also, I don't have any space in my room for a VR because it's like, oh yeah, no, the VR2 fix that issue, so there's that. When it comes to IPs, Call of the Mountain almost look like on rails, and that's not just something that interests me. Um, I, I have yet to hear from Call of the Mountain that it have a great story. I never played Call of Mountain, so I can't comment about that. I don't know if they put in new enemies in Call of the Mountain that were not in the OG game or Forbidden West, so that's also another thing that would draw me in. And then again, 500 for just one game. All three games. The only game that I will be playing is Call of
Big
the
ass.
Mountain. What you call it? The mouse game. I'm interested in that. And then there is that Dungeon and Dragon game. I would be interested in that. But that's the thing though. 3 games, not enough for me to buy an entire new, almost like a platform, in a way you could call it. Because it is an accessory, but it's as expensive as the main console itself. It's a gamble, and I'm not willing to risk that gamble because I have other priorities. And yes, Burning Shore is going to be on my higher list priority than Call of the Mountain because at least with Burning Shore we're getting new enemies and new gameplay mechanics and stuff like that. And also it's gonna be for PS5 only. So that can be showcased by itself. Also, it's gonna continue the story, I think, from Forbidden West. So there is also that. While Call of the Mountain, it's just
It's a
random.
filler episode.
Yeah, basically it's a filler episode, but it's an expensive filler episode.
It is like paying money to go to the movie to see a
Yeah,
filler episode.
I really
Uh,
believe PlayStation should have almost like put a booth where you could try it out. Because I think if people were to try it out, they might have a different opinion than, like, for example, it's one thing to talk about the dual sense, but something different to actually interact with the dual sense.
we'll save
So,
that thought for our last topic. Because
okay.
that's important to hold on to. But and I want to talk to you today. But there's one thing I would say. So if the PS2 just fails on your end, as you know, one of our Sony guys here, are you that concerned? Like it sucks, but like it's like like would you be terribly hurt if the PSVR2 failed? Sony stopped deal. Think it might, or at least I don't know if you know I was talking to you.
Or if you're having issues, just leave and come back, because that's what I was having. I would unmute my mic and still people would not hear me.
No, I didn't. Nobody heard
But
you.
you can hear me? Yeah. Omar, can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. All right. Again, real quick, my question was one last question to you. If the PSVR2 just went away, would you be overly concerned?
Mm, no, because I see PSVR as the 3D. Or what's the other one? You have 3D, you have that 8K, not 8K, the whole. It's almost like every single generation you get these outliners, and people are free to partake in them or not, to involve himself in them. Like, what's so different between VR and 3D? New concept. You either like it, you don't like it. You have the money, fork it if you want to. If you don't want to, that's up to you.
Well,
And
Actually,
somebody remind me if I'm correct. PSVR is still not. It's not it's not standalone,
no, it's
right?
not
Like it still needs to
standalone.
be
what do you
Well,
mean
the difference,
standalone?
like you can't play it without, can't use it
like
without having a
the
PS
yeah,
five.
the Oculus is standalone, right? Like you can just play it straight through the headset. You don't need any
Yeah,
connection.
you don't need
Oh
any.
yeah, no. With
But
PlayStation, you actually need to play with VR. You need to PlayStation 5.
but I was gonna say the difference between transitioning from 2D to 3D is that you didn't really have a choice. If you wanted to game and play newer games, they were going to be 3D, whether or not you wanted to play 2D.
No, 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 no.
And taking away from it.
I was talking about 3D TVs.
Oh, yeah, 3D TVs.
I was putting that
They came
like
and gone.
it's yeah. So I remember Sony was leading the charge at one point with
Yeah,
3D TVs.
precisely.
That
And look
was a
what
big
happened to
thing.
3D TVs. They died.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you gotta wear that. Nobody wants to come home and put on glasses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
But
also the glasses thing. There is also another thing that they tried, another company tried, that didn't work out. That's what I'm saying. Every single generation they come up with new way, and it either works or it doesn't. If it catch up, then you're gonna see more companies jumping in on the bandwagon. And like for example, DualSense doing great. Now you're seeing Microsoft getting their own DualSense. Maybe at least it's not what we call it, Microsoft developing it, but a different party they're working with. But maybe they're all working on their own DualSense. Who knows?
Must say, what company is this? What company is making a DualSense controller for Xbox?
well, there's rumors
Abby's
that
like, I probably
Xbox is
already have it.
developing, like Xbox has filed patent for um their own version of haptic feedback for the Elite 3 controller whenever that.
I think
Are you talking
also
about
there's one that was revealed, Razer. I think.
That's
Huey knows
I gotta.
because he want to buy it.
Yeah, say Nappy, call your controller people up. Let's get the
Yeah,
inside scoop. Let's see
hey,
what's happening.
you have one job. You're the controller guy.
I'm the controller guy. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing been confirmed about a controller. The only controller that has haptic feedback right now is the Fly Digi Gamepad 3, and that's for the PC and Nintendo Switch, Android and iOS.
Well, I think the Razer, the new Razer controller, is wired. I think that's one of the things with it. It doesn't have a wireless.
Yeah, but I'll say because the Razer controller, the recent one that they came out with the PlayStation doesn't have haptic feedback, and this controller for the DualSense control for the PlayStation 5 doesn't have haptic feedback either. I think DualSense controller is the only controller that has the haptic feedback triggers on them for PlayStation 5. The only thing that has something even similar right now is only this controller. And this is for PC, Nintendo Switch, Android, and iOS.
I remember seeing almost like a trailer for an haptic feedback controller.
It's either Razer
I will
or
look into it.
Asus came out with a controller, but I don't think it has a. I don't think it has.
Okay.
No,
And so,
there
that,
isn't.
we work through that way, and so Jube, let's say.
Yeah, this is Asus controller, and the thing that it had was the screen on it.
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah, okay. the Asus one with the screen on it is the feature you were probably.
This one has a screen on it too.
Nappy,
Jube, are you here?
If a new one's coming, he'll be like, no,
Yeah,
it's
I'm
on
here.
its way.
Okay, so Jube, did they announce a controller with haptic? Because I remember tagging and not tagging you, sharing it with VGP.
No.
I don't. I think it was a patent, to be honest. There's
Oh,
a patent,
that's a
and it's not
patent.
necessarily
Okay.
for haptics. It's for the triggers. It's for the impulse triggers.
Okay.
So Jube, how do I get you into PSVR2? What I got to do to
Make
get
it
you
make
to
make it make it $349.99, and I'll buy it today.
do you think the large part of it is just the cost?
A big part of it is just the cost. Like you have to look at the cost of entry to get into something like this. Like on the PC side, they've already spent the cost of entry for this on their PCs already. You feel me?
Yeah.
So why it wasn't marketed towards them or had like designed for them, because it would have sold. It would have sold if they just included PC in there.
Yeah, and plus we already got like over 6,000 titles for VR.
Exactly.
That's another
Exactly.
issue is that the people who are in the VR community have to pay more to get the same game from the PlayStation. The games are more expensive.
And a whole new PlayStation too.
Yeah.
And a whole new PlayStation.
So
Like you got to think like it's like $1,200 to get the full VR set up. You got $500 for the system, $550 for the VR, and then you got to buy a game, one game, unless you get the one that comes with the game. In which case, we're still in the same ballpark.
You can actually save money. Just get a PC and get an Oculus Quest.
Yeah,
There you
and
go.
to Omar's point, it's like there are these games that I'm sort of gambling on that there probably exist better versions or better places in this world outside of the VR space. And
Mhm.
to you guys' point about sort of that PC space, I have a PSVR, the first one. I absolutely love it. Well, I like it. And Beat Saber is a great time, but I am forever stuck in a box. Like I
Yeah.
cannot leave out of my PSVR box in the same way that PC players can. So I will only ever have the same 30 or so Beat Saber songs for here into eternity, as opposed
You don't
to
get
PC
mods?
players.
No.
No, it's. I mean, now
Oh.
I am sure there probably are, but as a self-proclaimed like lazy gamer, I'm not doing it. And I know I could probably do it. It'd be probably far
Jailbreak your
easier
PS5.
if I'm not doing it, I
Ooh.
know most people aren't doing it. Whereas on the PC side of it, like you can probably just download it real quick and be like, I
Yeah,
got any new album that comes out can be a Beat Saber song.
do you know how many hentai intros are Beat Saber songs?
Exactly.
I
Stuff like
I
that.
didn't
Like
even know hentai
you know,
had intro. Like
everything's got an intro.
Everything got the intro. You one of those people that skip intros, aren't you?
Like I don't watch that no more.
After the first time, yes, I do skip the intro. I'm not watching the intro for the same, especially if I'm binge watching. Yeah, watch.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to finish up, like I said, it's just high cost to entry is the main thing, to be honest.
There's only one,
and there isn't that de
I have a question
facto.
for you.
What's up?
You want the best, right?
Yep.
So would you not be willing to fork for the best?
I
Because
would have forked.
But it's
apparently,
not.
yeah,
It's arguably not the best.
I would have
though.
forked for it. I would have forked for it if it had PC support. I would have bought it. That alone would have absolutely
own
justified the price.
preference. That's our own preference.
The MetaQuest
But the
Pro
question
is
is,
arguably
would
the
you be
best at the moment.
the question is, would you be able to find what PlayStation is offering right now for the same price on PC?
Yes, MetaQuest Pro.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Pro.
like I told you, you just get a gaming PC and get the MetaQuest.
The MetaQuest Pro.
There you go.
The MetaQuest Pro has AR and VR versus the PSVR2, which is purely VR. So you can actually do a little bit more versus where the PSVR2 has a little bit better resolution and things like that. So
Yeah, it's better capabilities and better specs, but at the same time, it's limited to just the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation ecosystem.
But having augmented reality and virtual reality in the same device could, that depends on what you're looking for. If you want a pure VR headset, the PSVR2 is the best. But like as far as like what you can do fully, the MetaQuest Pro now, I would say.
Plus, we got 6,000 titles.
And that was like you mentioned bring up a very interesting point.
No, I'm not talking
like,
about the titles. I'm talking about the specs.
Hardware.
Well,
hardware wise, yes, it's better, but same time, like what can you do with
That's
it?
what I'm talking about.
I think they're one and the same though, because what I thought about was Apple phones, the Apple ecosystem. Like Apple walls you off in its own very specific garden. You're locked into that space. Let's just say, for argument's sake, Apple has the best specs, the best phone on the market that you can get. However, you are severely limited in the scope that you have. It is a very pretty garden, but it is still a walled garden. Um, do you want to be stuck in that garden? Or for Nappy, who has 6,000 titles, like that has to come into play because again, PSVR2 can be the best headset on the market. What am I playing?
Then
And
it's
then if I'm
simple.
playing the same thing, like if I'm playing Beat Saber and Nappy's playing Beat Saber, he has 300 songs and I'm just stuck with 80, or it's going to cost me money to buy more songs. I'm at least looking at his side. I'm definitely peering over the fence like that, man. Like he got all the fun songs to play.
Yeah.
Like inevitably you'll run out of songs just to play, and you're just sort of stuck there. It's like this is and I'm sure there'll be other games that come out with it, but like you said, Omar, like you gotta rely. It's a bit of a gamble to rely on Sony to make sure that they're going to do it
I would
and do it well, and not make me like again. Horizons for me is such a good example, just because it's not that Calling the Mountain is bad. It's just that
Yeah,
the burning shores are here. Like
yeah,
I
I
all I want is the burning shores, man.
yeah,
Like
I got you, but here's the thing. Here's the different thing, though. Someone like Jube, he is a VR connoisseur. Someone like me, I never owned a VR my entire life. Someone like Jube, he loves to work for quality. Someone like me, I need to make sure what I'm buying. Someone like Junpei loves to invest. Look what he bought. He bought a Series X. He invested in Series X to bring them quality games. And he's gonna get that with, for example, Starfield and stuff like that. So it's an investment. Yes, the titles are not there, but PlayStation VR2 did release more titles than VR1, and it's just a matter of investment. If you're willing to invest, if you are a fan of quality content, not quality, new tech, the best of the best for the price that you're getting, yes, it's isolated on one console, but if that's already your ecosystem, then you're golden. But if you're
I don't
not,
know.
then you're not gonna buy it. Simple.
No, and I hear you, bro. But here's the other side of that. Sony has shown me if it is not a console PlayStation, they don't give a fuck about it. We saw it with the Vita. Yeah, the best. You had the technically the best handheld on the market from a technical standpoint. How did Nintendo win? Way more shit to play, and it was cheaper. That's it. Like again, the Meta Quest 2 is enough. It's enough to stifle sales for that because it's cheaper and there's more shit on it.
And also, you got one more thing too. Because they can work on PC, support is endless.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Like
and I would also argue that
you have to if it's only going to be on PlayStation, you have to trust Sony is going to support this damn device for the long term, and they haven't shown me
That's
that
why
they
I
can
said.
do that.
That's why I
They
said
haven't
it's
they
investment.
haven't shown me that they can do that.
and they only really
I
Yeah,
bought a
yeah.
Vita. I feel stupid. I love the thing, but I felt stupid for buying it because it just stopped getting fucking games.
a lot of people talk about this Horizon game, but I think the game that's actually most attractive to their current um consumer base is actually the Gran Turismo VR. Like
Yeah,
that's probably like no one cares about that call them
I
out.
think that's super neat.
If anything, Gran Turismo should be the marketing tool for that experience. Yeah.
it's,
It
it's
really
some
should.
it's
I
some
got
of that the challenge of because
you got
Kofi
the
said
Vita
like
too.
I want Vita. Like Kofi said, he wants to get Gran Turismo, not until he gets to like if VR is supposed to be this transformative experience, it is a high cost to entry to fully experience. And I'm not saying you got to like buy the whole 3D movement gear, but like if I just want an actual wheel to make my 3D experience of driving feel better, um, that becomes an extra barrier, right? Because, or I guess you could shell out for the controllers that Nappy has, showing off.
with a steering wheel.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing: if you're gonna play in VR, bro, you're gonna want a wheel and pedals. That's the whole point. That is the entire point. You're not gonna want to have a controller in your hands for that shit. You don't want to.
I think that's my thought. It's like the people who are into it, like really want to be into it, and
I honestly believe
you know,
there's a high level of arrogance when you only place it on the PlayStation 5. It could have easily done it for PlayStation 5.
Yeah, because
this shit is going to sell 4 million tops this whole fucking generation. That's it.
They haven't even hit 1 million yet.
I know they haven't. That's why I said over the whole gen, it's gonna hit 4.
I don't think it sells more than 2
and
million.
a lot of that is gonna come from price drop.
I don't think it cracks 2 million. I don't think so. Like unless they drop games that we don't know about yet, and because at first they're gonna support the PlayStation 5. That's their bread and butter. So like let's say like a new SOCOM comes out or a new Killzone, and it does well on the PlayStation 5, and then they drop a PSVR version of that. That's probably like the only type of thing. That's only like big content. There's not going to be an exclusive AAA game developed, where we already.
Well, there should be though. That would be enticement to buy it. They don't have a killer app.
Yeah. Honestly, I think they released it too soon. It's just people are just getting their hands on PlayStation 5. You expect them to get their hands on PlayStation 5 and the VR?
Bro, look at the first gen of VR. What did it do? It's so like it was throwing bricks.
But
it was going triple wood. All
different times,
wood.
different generation. Like look what we're dealing with now today.
I'm thinking this is going to sell.
And it was cheaper.
It's not just that. The previous generation of, by the way, hi everybody. My internet.
Hey, you're alive. Welcome.
Yeah, my internet is still shit. Apparently, it's if I just cut out, assume that Discord apparently just committed seppuku and killed the rest of my PC. Yeah, that's not just the biggest problem the first generation of VR had. I mean, if we're lumping the first generation together with like the HTC Vive, Valve Index, Oculus, the biggest problem that they had is they had no general applications other than games. Like even the earlier ones like HTC Vive and Oculus Rift, like there really wasn't anything else you could do with it until third parties got their hands on it and started producing like media players that could actually run on like a Valve Index or not even a Valve Index, on a HTC Vive or an Oculus. And that was one of the biggest problems with the PlayStation VR wasn't just because of the price point, which at the time was cheap. No, it was the fact that there was no other practical applications for it. Like it didn't have many good. It didn't have many good games. Or many games to begin with. It didn't have any other anything else outside of it plays games. Not only that, the control scheme. This was in my opinion, this was the biggest killer for it. Was the controls for it? The controls for the PlayStation VR were absolute. That was another massive problem for the PlayStation VR. Like the PlayStation VR came into the space with literally nothing going for it. Nothing.
VR 1 or 2?
VR 1. VR 2 has a lot more going into it, because as we've discussed before, right now, probably one of the most impressively spec'd VR headsets out there, like hands down. The controls actually seem to be really goddamn good. Actually, from what I've been hearing from people, it's got some really nice goddamn controllers. The problem is it's not the fact that it's not got games, because we saw the list of games. It's actually got a quite number of impressive games that turned our opinions around on it, as far as like what games it had, like in just that one stream. The problem is the price point. Like, I'm sure it would not surprise me if we see like a PlayStation VR 2.5 where they.
Oh,
I think
we
we lost
lost
him.
Oh no!
No.
we lost
Nah,
them.
see, nah. Them Sony ninjas heard him talking that shit.
But,
Snap his
yeah,
ass up.
Oh,
I mean,
hold on.
but-
Oh, he was actually defending the PlayStation 2 VR.
He
Oh,
was
no.
just offended. He was making his point about he was making his point. Oh wait, he's back.
Hey,
Wait,
he's
back.
back.
Get back, get
Yeah,
back.
see what I mean? See what I mean? Yeah, like if PlayStation had come out and said, okay, PlayStation VR2 launches, we're partnering with ESPN, and you can watch all, and we'll have a subscription service or something like $2 a month or something. You can watch, or you know what? You can buy pay-per-views through your PlayStation VR2, and you can watch it live with your VR headset.
Can do that on PC already. Just letting you guys know.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's no applications like that would make the casual consumer go, "Oh man, I could see a fucking Lakers game without having to pay out the ass for like a ticket or deal with scalpers. I can just pay like $20 for a
VR Experience 360 camera.
bingo."
You know what? You know what? There's something we're not touching on here.
What's that?
What I don't feel who does Sony want to buy this product?
PlayStation games.
From their numbers that
They're
apparently they want, from the numbers that they put out that they wanting to sell 2 fucking million, apparently everybody. That's the
Because
problem.
this is definitely not marketed at a casual. That price you already scaring people off. You feel me? Like, you're already marketing to the hardcore in that sector there. Like, you're right. It needs a practical application that can bring in
the casual
grandma. Exactly. She's gonna see this. What does this do? It just plays games. But I just bought a $500 thing that just plays games for Christmas for my grandson. Like, what do you mean? Nah, we're gonna skip that. Like, nah, we need that thing. We need that thing.
And again, like, it's one of those things where we talked about last time. Sony is literally has a motion picture studio, like a department, division.
Picture, music,
Why are we
everything entertainment?
Yeah. So why are we not having like cinema VR experiences, like, to watch films on it?
Because one, Sony don't have partnerships or the rights to the movies.
Well, no bullshit. They do.
Well, they have partnerships to sell, but they don't have partnerships to view with VR headsets. That would be nice.
Like Sony Pictures, like they probably have theirs.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, Sony as a entity have a fucking motion picture department. Like, they own the rights to a bunch of movies. Like, Spider-Man.
They don't work, but they don't work together. Their departments don't work together. Like, you see it with like the headphone. Like, their premium headphones don't work with your PlayStation 5.
That's where Sony is leaving money on the table.
Because like you can literally buy like $1,000 Sony headset. Yes, they do have $1,000+ headsets, and it can't connect to your.
I've used the $500 one. They're fantastic.
Yeah,
they are. They do good stuff.
You cannot connect it to your PS5. You have to buy. You have to buy a lesser quality Sony PlayStation 5 headset instead of using the really expensive one that you purchased.
But again, like I said, that's my point. Like, they're leaving like that. This is, I can't believe I'm about to fucking turn around and say this, but it's the damn truth. This is where Microsoft is succeeding, where Sony is failing. Microsoft is utilizing all of their departments to make sure the Xbox succeeds. Like, we talked about their streaming platform Azure that's coming out, right? That's not from the Xbox department. That's from another department in Microsoft.
Yeah,
like they actually have their departments working together. Sony needs to do the same thing if they want if they want to push forward with a lot of their ideas, they need their departments working in unison. Like, so they don't even necessarily need Sony Pictures to do anything. They can just turn around and say, "We'll make the application for the headset. Like, we'll make it. We just want the movies to be on it, where it feels like someone's in a cinema and is able to watch it live."
Ooh, I just realized how Sony could sell their VR headsets. They own the right to Chris Brown's music. Do you know girls be paying $1,000 just to take pictures with Chris Brown? Imagine how much they will pay for a headset to be in a music video, a virtual music video with Chris Brown.
So I have two counter arguments to that. One, if they want the true one, I think Rihanna would pay that much to stay away from Chris Brown. And two, I don't think people want a woman beating simulator. Like, there's not a market for that.
Yeah, have you seen the recent pictures of what people have been taking with Chris Brown?
That's true.
I was gonna say people forgot about that.
Yeah, like that.
That was weeks ago. What's happening now?
Yeah, like I'm about to say
for Rihanna, it's still fucking happening.
Yeah,
true.
But I'm about to say, like, these like put a thing where you could be in a like little video with Chris Brown. I'm pretty sure them women will be buying VR headsets for themselves. They'll buy the PlayStation 5 for their kids. VR's for them.
Yeah, like, but again, they're just leaving practical application and money on the table when it comes to that. Like, yeah, that's why the PlayStation VR2 is going to fail. It will fail and is failing. Like, it's not that they ain't got the games; they just don't have the goddamn market for it. Like, the price is
Sony is listening to us, taking these ideas, going back to the drawing board, circling back, and we're like, they was cooking. I see what they talking about. And come this time next year, thanks to our wonderful sage advice, PSVR2 becomes one of the most successful secondary platforms ever to exist.
Okay, and there's two other things they could do. One, they could open it up to the PC market, because the PC market would eat that shit up. Because, like, me and Nappy talked about it when we brought down the specs of this damn thing. This headset, like, whether you like the wire or not, this headset spec wise is one of the most, if not the most powerful fucking VR headsets out there right now. I
mentioned that. I was like, literally, like, the had they said, hey, it's compatible with PC, we wouldn't be talking about sales.
PC was
like, hold on, I don't have to buy an index.
I don't need to wait. I don't need to spend $1,000 for a fucking index, and I don't need to wait over like a month for it to arrive, because Valve, to their credit, it did stop scalpers. Do it per order. Like, they produce them per order, so you actually have to buy the fucker before I believe that thing's even built.
Yeah, actually, come to think about it, I think PlayStation has a contract with Apple, believe it or not, because their DualSense controllers already have native support with the operating system. So
yeah, they have contracts with Apple, because I think they use Sony cameras inside the Apple phone.
I'm curious if they go with Apple, that will be like a biggest fuck you to PC gamers.
Yeah, it would. Here's the other thing the PlayStation VR2 is missing. You will laugh at first, but once you realize that this medium has always pushed technology forward in many regards, you won't laugh anymore. It's missing porn.
I was trying to touch lightly. I touched lightly on that. I didn't want to go too deep into the whole porn thing.
I will go balls deep into it. Pun intended.
He got
a point. He got a point, because them smut peddlers, they want their smut.
They can't.
They don't care.
But
they
should create a back door and market it.
Yeah.
I'm about to say 20.
And they can literally market as the back door.
Yeah, like, there are a lot of places here.
But no, if you think about it, sex sells. Like, it sells t-shirts, it sells music videos, it sells movies. Fuck, one of the reasons we went in space is because some nerdy fucker out there wanted a fucking alien.
All right, so
like,
the reason that every media platform has been decided, the victory has been decided by porn. When it was VHS versus Betamax, Betamax was much better quality. But the porn industry decided to go with VHS. When it was Blu-ray,
because it was cheaper to produce.
Yes, when it was DVDs and it went from Blu-ray to HD DVDs, Blu-ray won because porn decided to go Blu-ray. Like porn decides a lot. Like it's not far-fetched to say that. I mean, no one wants to talk about it, but
It's true.
but it's true.
Yeah.
It pushes.
Yeah, my God.
Porn pushes innovation. Like it might not innovate much other than STDs, but it does push a market forward because I mean, give it another 10 years, everybody will be so gentrified you can't even talk about porn without being judged about it. But
no, everybody's going to be fucking AI, going to be fucking accessory robots. Some people already made it for their VR headsets.
We're already there, bro.
Go to some conventions. You will find the VR headset and this little model thing.
Okay.
That you
Now,
just have.
Happy, are you speaking
body
from experience right now?
I was afraid to right
No, I'm not speaking from experience.
You
It's
know
just
a little bit too much, Happy.
It's just that I got dragged to a convention one time in February.
Were you kicking and screaming, sir? Were you kicking and screaming? I must know.
Right.
No, I wasn't kicking and screaming, but I felt bad. I didn't feel like a supporter friend. So, and I was told at the last minute. This was in February in Alexandria, Virginia. They have a X convention where you can meet some of your favorite entertainers.
You mean Exotica?
Fucking porn actor. Just say it, man.
Okay.
Porn star.
You can meet your partners with that. You can take pictures with them. You can take pictures of them with in the bed with them. Yeah, you could meet all your adult entertainers and stuff. And they do have a VR headset with the shape of one of the stars' body with no arms, no legs, just titties and ass and
ass,
all the important parts.
All the important parts, yes. All the arms and legs get in the way. I mean, they kept a little bit of the thigh, though, but still. But, yes, there's already technology for that to be... and as a matter of fact, they actually are coming out with a technology to be public that will allow you to kiss people through online.
I'm gonna tell you this: the first functioning actual fucking Android that's ever going to be created is just going to be for porn. Oh, yeah. Also, by the way, yeah, as far as like sex stuff, like let's be fucking fair here. Like we actually have a more recent example of sex selling. We have 2 examples of it, and it's in the video game space. You telling me that
RE7, RE8 Village,
RE8, and Atomic Hearts. You telling me if it weren't for them ballerinas, that game wouldn't have sold as much as it did?
Did Atomic Hearts even advertise all the sexual stuff inside there?
Yeah,
yes, they did. Yes, the marketing was just those fucking ballerinas. Like every fucking trailer has a lot of shots of those fucking ballerinas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were saying, especially that one robot where you upgrade your weapons. It's like, oh my god! I was like, yo, chill! Like, what the fuck? Like, let go of me.
Yep.
Knows me, no.
This guys talk about naked ballerinas all day.
They ain't even naked. They're fucking robots. You fucking freaks, you. I've been screaming at motherfuckers for doing that. You fucking weirdos.
And the thing is, you picture them naked, though.
But as we come up,
that's what the internet
closer into our show. Abby brought it up, and it seems like a perfect segue for conventions. One of which might seem to be going away forever.
Which ones? Sorry, before we move on to that, what topics have we touched on right now? I'm curious.
We're on topic
Resident
3.
Evil voice actor.
Bollocks. Okay, because I actually had something. I actually had something to add to that topic. Shit. All right.
PSVR. And now sort of cancellation of E3 2020. Kofi, you have. Sarah, I don't think, if I remember correctly, you did not. Kofi, you have. No.
I've never been either.
No, you've lived sort of the pseudo nerd's dream. Speak the language, but you've also visited the country. You've been to Japan,
right?
Enjoying sort of that whole space and that whole thing. Probably the only number 2 on there is going to E3. and seeing that, just being a part of that entire space, that energy, uh, that whole stuff. You're a con goer because you regularly visit Otakon years ago. But is E3 gone? Like, is it gone? Are we mourning our long lost friend?
Oh, that chat.
Yeah, I think E3 as a physical event at the size we were used to is absolutely gone. The big players now have found controlling the narrative of when they announce games is a much more powerful tool than E3, which is unfortunate because I think there's some sort of um, impact to showmanship for an E3 event where you can really get a palatable taste of what a particular ecosystem or a particular publisher might be creating. Now, even though E3, I think E3 is gone in the sense that we know it today, we can still kind of look at Sega and EA and independent studios like Larian or big studios like Blizzard, and kind of celebrate big titles they might have like Diablo or Baldur's Gate 3 or Yakuza 8. And we'll probably get the same level of hype. And maybe we'll see, I don't think this will actually be true, but when your favorite publisher announces things by themselves on their own terms, you might not have so many gremlins there asking for Grand Theft Auto 6. Because that's typically what I see happen when big shows come out and Jeff Keighley is walking across stage. GT6 win. GT6 win. Spider-Man 2. We know Spider-Man 2 is coming. But we kind of like the big surprises or things that are going to wow us that aren't known. So I think that there's going to be greater opportunities to surprise us at random times as opposed to something at E3 where all our expectations are through the roof. We're using telescopes to find our expectations. Now we might be able to have an event randomly pop up on us and experience that impactfulness that we used to when we first tried some of these genres. So yeah, I think it's gone. But really, it's just a bunch of islands instead of one continent.
And that becomes, and let me shift it instead of doing one by one. I'm sort of putting this up to everybody. But the perspective being that at one point, we all grew up understanding it was Mecca, right? Like there was always the idea, like, how can I get to eat? And we've talked about E3 over the course of many years on the show because it comes or goes. Jeff Keighley's doing his own thing, everybody else is doing their own thing. I've said E3 functionally like doesn't necessarily need to exist in the way that it used to. It's expensive, uh, takes a lot of space up. People have to figure out stuff around COVID and post-COVID world. Are people comfortable being around massive amounts of stuff? And for big three, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, it's like, why would I did a like just mental calculation and talking to people who I work in events, you know, just to just for a concert at said the stadium here in Baltimore can cost you like $100,000. Um, that is probably absolutely nothing compared to the money that Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft had to kick out to be at this E3 conference. And this is not including your VIP guests. This is not including if you're Ubisoft bringing Jason Derulo out to dance for you. This is not including, your staff, feeding them, getting them there, travel, showcasing your games, traveling your game. It is a massive, massive cost to be here. So it fundamentally, I think we all understand why. But there is some level of sadness to this, right? Like this was the thing. Like E3 will always be
See,
the thing, and it seems sad, understandable, but it seems there's some level of sadness that it might not turn in the way that it used to.
I
And there
think
is
right. So I want to just jump. Sorry, let me just jump in and just get my thoughts out on this. I feel because of COVID, like because I agree with COVID. There's I miss the sense of pageantry and and grandioseness of E3. I feel like that is something we lost post-COVID. Like, as much as we do like the Bethesda and the Microsoft shows and the State of Play for some people, and the Nintendo Direct, which has been going for the longest, there's a sense of artificialness to it that just makes it feel fake. Like, makes it feel fake. And I'm mainly speaking for myself. There are two cons out there for me that done it best, which I feel would be like it would up the cost of doing it, but it would add that pageantry and that excitement back to the shows. If, say, once a year, like, because I feel like one of the biggest things as well for these companies deciding we don't want to do this anymore is they don't want to compete with each other.
Yes.
Like, so they can control the narrative, but they don't want to compete with each other anymore. They don't want to go like first and then, oh my god, new God of War. Then the next day, oh my god, Cyberpunk 2077. And then the next day, like by the time you get to day 2, day 1's already fucking forgotten for a lot of people. So these companies would rather not compete with each other and have the spotlight all on themselves, which for me is the reason why I'd like them to start taking the approach of QuakeCon and BlizzCon, because these are still cons that people go to where they do announce games, even if it is like the infamous Diablo Immortals thing. But like, there's still an audience there to get people hyped, because even though we're not there, there is this sense of living vicariously through the people that are there. Like, if they're excited, you're excited because you're watching it. You're hearing that crowd. Like, you're living vicariously through them. It's through osmosis, basically. So I feel like if Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo once a year held their own conference, even if it's in like because like I don't even think, because BlizzCon, QuakeCon, like, that's not held in a huge venue. I think last year's was held in like a big giant conference room in a hotel, I believe. I can't remember.
Well, Microsoft has
I'll have to
building like literally right across the street from where E3 is every year. So, I mean, wouldn't be much of a issue.
And they could do it there. Yeah, and they could do it there. But it doesn't need to just be a games event where we're doing, game reveals. Like, you could all, because like QuakeCon has the Quake Pro League. This year, I believe they're doing the Quake Pro League. It's QuakeCon, and it's a 3-day event where people can go, relax, have fun with video games, enjoy the medium, and then go to the conference and be like, okay, cool. And they can live stream it. It's like, oh, this is that cool. These are the cool games we've got coming, or something like that. So I honestly feel like this is something that the other companies, yes, it'll add a bit of money, but it will just, in my opinion, it'll add more excitement to the possible games that are coming out, because there is that sense of pageantry. Because like because if you think about it now, every time we hear like, oh, there's going to be a state of play, it's like, oh, there's going to be another state of play. Oh, that's cool. Like that's our reaction now. But when we get into E3, it's like, oh my god, E3's coming up. Okay, let's schedule our days. Okay, let's watch it live. Let's get the group together. Let's watch it live. Let's react to it. But like, when it comes to these state of plays, and even Nintendo Directs, and even these Xbox ones, not so the Xbox ones, because they haven't done as many, but I feel it's going to get there. There's just not that excitement around them, and there's no element of surprise either, which is good and bad, because it stops people from fucking asking for certain games to be played, but to be shown. Like, I think the Horizon one was a good one, where they said, no, there's not going to be any God of War. This is just going to be Horizon. Like, it takes away from the surprise factor, but it also tempers expectations. So if they held a con like QuakeCon and said, okay, these are the games that are going to show up, you're tempering expectations, but it's still the excitement of being there live and being able to see like the first showing of it and seeing what else they've got. And then again, you can build other things around it, like I don't know. I mean, Sony owns Evo. They could literally
Third-party controllers.
Third-party controllers, yeah. I mean, Sony owns Evo. They could literally piggyback off of Evo and do like a showcase at like Evo. Like we're gonna have Evo, and then we're gonna have the Sony event.
TVs, Sony, all the Sony accessories that they can sell. I mean, they can do. Sony can do a lot.
Yeah, but I feel like that would be better held for something like the Tokyo, not the Tokyo Game Show. Which one is it? There's another one that's just basically electronics. Because like, if anything, that's also something else that E3 kind of fucked up over time. Is it's the electronic showcase, but they got more and more known for video games than tech, and people lost more and more interest in the tech side of it than they did the game side of it, because the game side kind of took over. That's what it got known for, which is what we've been talking about.
Well, demos for third-party exclusives made by third-party companies.
Yeah,
play it on our system. There you go. Get it for demo. Get a hands-on demo, or rarely like early on demo.
Yeah, they're doing that now with the Summer Games Fest and stuff like that. We are getting demos right out of the shows. We have been doing that recently.
And you know what, Jeff Keighley, in my opinion, like the Summer Games Fest, Jeff Keighley's kind of getting it right. Like Jeff Keighley, I would say is I wouldn't say he's completely there, but like he's on the road to realize no, these showcases still kind of need that pomp and circumstance about it.
I thought his December show was pretty good last year.
Yeah. But like I say, I'm not saying that bad. I'm saying, but he's slowly adding in the fact that it's slowly getting better, and he's starting to add more of that pomp and circumstance that like E3 used to have, like not on the big grander scale, but enough that will get people excited. Like, it's one of the reasons, in my opinion, the Video Game Awards work. Like, yes, they're there to celebrate games, but there's still a pomp and circumstance about it. And I'm not saying pomp and circumstance in a negative way. I'm saying it in a good way. Like, there's still the pageantry about the Video Game Awards. Like, give it another couple of years, in my opinion, we're going to see the Video Game Awards as like the Emmys of video games, in my opinion. If people don't already view it that way already, I feel it's going to get there, just probably a bit more respected than the Emmys.
Yeah.
I don't agree. You know, Bay, your thoughts? Are we losing a friend?
We are. I know when we first kind of started this whole podcast journey, like that was the thing. Like I wanted to go to E3 with you guys, and shit, and have that experience. And I'm kind of tearing up because that's probably not going to happen.
There's my point. That Jubei's point is the whole point I'm trying to make. Like, it's the experience now. Like we'll never be able. If
it was like supposed to be like the video game mecca, you feel me? Like it's supposed to be like, hey, you're here, you feel me? And as a fan, we get to miss out on that because Game Awards are cool. It's not necessarily open to the public though. It's like going to like the Grammys or the Oscars, like no public people there. It's people in the industry. That's it.
Yeah,
they're still on the outside looking in. E3 kind of gave us the chance to. And there's other shows. There's PAX. There's all those other shows.
Yeah, TGS is still kind of good.
QuakeCon is good.
Yep.
So is BlizzCon when they don't announce mobile games.
True, but yeah, it hurts, but it's been. It used to be you go to the C3 stage and they all do. The big three do their thing and everybody else kind of follows suit. It's like they're saving money by hosting their own shows on their own terms with their own limits and stuff. Like didn't you used to have to, like you had to buy booth space, right? To go to E3, you had to like pay to go to E3. Like that was a thing.
If it operates like pretty much any other venue thing, like there is some level of cost splitting. But like for example, Sony's whole big thing when they showed The Last of Us 2 and they did that from theater to theater to theater, like that cost. Like,
and it wasn't even received well because the people that were there were tired of fuck.
Yeah, like why do you keep making me move?
Yeah.
But yeah, to participate in these things, is going to cost you money. Granted, the big
Yeah.
three definitely got more money than God, so like it
Yeah.
ain't hurting.
Let me give
Yeah.
you. Hold on, Jubei. Let me throw another example of why I feel like these cons, like these companies, should hold their own cons, like PlayStation Con, Xbox Con, or whatever. Like,
That
and
will be
how they.
expensive.
They kind of already
No,
do. Don't
no,
you have like
no.
the PlayStation experience? You have
Yeah,
Xbox
yeah.
Fan
I
Fest.
know, but
Like
I'm on about.
they have their own little.
Talk about
It's
actual
easier.
conventions, like
I'm on
Yeah.
about actual conventions to play games. And by the way,
Oh,
Omar,
Why
it
would they
would
do that?
no. Here's because again, like I literally just went over, like the pageantry of it, like the excitement of it, like the excitement for like these digital events. There's not as much excitement for these digital events as there would be for like an E3. Like I said, and they don't even need. And as far as money, it would cost far fucking less for them to host their own cons than it would to go to E3. That's why BlizzCon and QuakeCon have still been going on. Like they don't need to be massive venues. Like that is a misnomer that they need to be big venues. They don't. Like they really don't. But like for example, a good example of like a
Oh, lost.
We
We
lost
lost
him
him?
again.
He's like, no, stay on the internet. Don't beat each other in person.
Well, until he appears, like Omar,
So
like
yeah,
do,
I was so
have
until he
yeah,
comes.
yeah, like
Look,
do you have any feelings about the loss of Fury?
real talk, no, because online. First of all, I never went to E3, so E3 is just meant for the USA peeps. Yeah, I know. From all around the world,
Makes
people
sense.
come
Makes
in and
sense.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But mostly it's for the USA peeps. I know how exciting E3 can be. Like I talked to Kopi, E3 2016, 2018, like legendary moments. Yes, but I'm also okay with PlayStation doing their own showcase, because then you're not gonna sit by and watch something that you don't like, especially when you go in with the EA and you get a or Ubisoft and you get a Just Dance. You're like, dude, or you get such a horrible main presenter that use that that whole time travel move. I don't know if you guys remember him. He was one of the worst presenter. So for me, PlayStation showcases, but also Xbox and also Nintendo, are always quick to the point, clean. There is no fluff. There is absolutely zero need for fluff. Yet you can showcase smaller games, but they don't spend too much time on it, and you can still show uh, what do you call it? Do big reveals, and also it prevents a lot of uh, leak from happening in some areas, and in others, you know, ninja got a ninja. But with E3, a lot of leak would happen. Also, one of the reasons why E3 started to get such a bad rep is because apparently people got doxxed. E3 E3 protection was or is horrible to the point where no longer people men no longer wanted to deal with E3 anymore because they actually lost some amount of cell phone numbers and credit. I don't know if the credit card, but I do remember telephone number got stolen by at the organization E3. So all by all, at the end, I think what PlayStation is doing, what Nintendo is doing, what Microsoft is doing their own thing. I would rather them do that than giving me E3 with this whole showcase. Especially if you have nothing to show. Like, do I need to remind you guys with Square Enix E3? Yo, Coffee, you remember it, right? One of the worst
Oh
E3.
yeah, it was. It was.
Like, it's banter to talk about it, but to actually sit through it, like, dude,
I mean, Square's had bad
no
shows,
thank
whether
you.
they've been a part of E3 or not, though. I don't think the venue is what caused the show to be.
If you're there physically, it's one that you could skip. You could be out, demoing things.
Yeah,
I mean,
There's so
hopefully,
much to do. Yeah, there's so much to do at
yeah,
E3.
Yeah.
but for example, if Square Enix to do their own event, they're gonna bring their end game because they're doing it on their time.
and so
No,
here's a
that's not
great
say
necessarily
chat
true
on
because
market.
you're
PlayStation.
No, hold
that's
on.
not if
Wait,
you're
what
actually
person are
paying to be on someone else's stage, it's actually more of an investment to be on a third party stage. You don't go on a third party stage for free. Versus if you just throw your own video on YouTube, that's at no
Yeah,
extra
but
expense to
them,
you.
but also them E3, like for example, Square Enix never needed to be there last year. They didn't have enough to showcase. They gave us so much
But they wanted
fluff.
it. They wanted to be there. They didn't.
Yeah, but
No
that's
one
the
forced
thing
them to.
because of the E3.
There
They
was no
want
E3
people
last
idle.
year.
And when was the show? Or was that
That was
Square
summer
Enix
games.
own showcase?
That was Summer Games Fest. But they didn't have to be there. They wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm telling you. When they do their own event, they can also control the narrative, not of course, but they can also be
Everything's
ready to showcase
pre-recorded.
what they want to showcase.
You can control the narrative however you want. Everything's pre-recorded. It doesn't change. Like, and
Yeah,
Square
but
Enix doesn't do their own event. For the most part, they're either attached. They're always attached to someone else's event. Whenever they make a big announcement on a Sony stage or it's a Summer Games Fest, E3, they don't.
yeah, but that's why I said. That's why I said if they start doing their own event, they're gonna bring their end game because they're
Not
gonna have stuff to showcase.
That's not necessarily true. I mean, their A game may be what you saw at last year. That might be their A game of
No,
presentation.
last
Not
last
everyone's great.
year
Not
was
not
dog
everyone's great at
shit.
presenting.
Last
Well,
year was dog shit.
that's a good point. You have a good point with that. I think.
Everyone's not
So,
great
like,
at presenting. So I mean,
so,
that could be
so,
their
like,
A
here's
game.
we
Like,
saw last year
This
between
dude
we
bringing the tea. Oh man.
we saw last year between you guys already saw my post on Twitter. They released a lot of games, right? They don't
yeah,
really market for those games. Some of them they don't even publish, right? They're published by other parties or whatever. If they had an event where you could play a majority of those games, it might have really helped. Because a lot of people who are fans, at least to my post, replied, "Wait, that came out?" And it was just an overwhelming amount. If
yeah. I
they
mean,
just allowed people to kind of get their hands on it, give some feedback, maybe you could say, "Oh, well, maybe this game should be delayed a little bit because people actually played it." Your average Joe.
what
So
people
there's
fail
something
to
to it.
what people fail to realize is that, I mean, we always talk about Square so much, but Square relies on um who they distribute to market the title. They don't market their own stuff very well. They never have.
Right. That's true.
They've always relied on Sony to market, this game, or Nintendo to market, the Octopath and all that. Like, nobody knew about
Right.
Octopath Traveler. Like, it wasn't a big thing until, in my eyes, it didn't become a big thing until it was coming to Game Pass, and then it was in everyone's. Oh, what's this Octopath? Oh, it's
But
on
it's
Nintendo.
so well.
I
Oh
know,
well,
I
never
know,
mind,
I,
never
I
mind.
know, I
Wait.
know it sold well, but it wasn't on the forefront of people's mind. That's what I'm saying. Like, until someone else marketed it being on their platform. Like, Square doesn't do a good job of marketing it, whether it sells well or doesn't.
And part of that, like, because that would have been at a Nintendo Treehouse. Like, they would have been sitting down at the convention floor playing Octopath. Hearing people talk about it and you get to see it, but you get these sort of and and like it's still happening, right? Because people were still going, but like there's just like I remember when Yoshi's Woolly World came out. Um, you get the first look of it on the floor. Get to actually see these people just sitting there playing the game. And they're like it's real time feedback about like what this game is, how it feels, like all this other type of stuff, as opposed to you can control your own narrative, but there is something about that tangible feeling being in space. Um, and it's particularly disheartening because like the rise of the podcast is effectively just a mini news organization, which like we could have gone. Yeah, it would have been real simple for us to go as press, quote unquote, and then come back and talk about the game we played, as opposed to just watching. And the bigger you get, there are always the secret games that are probably out there as well that only a small handful of people get to touch, that might not show up. So there's a lot. But I
Yeah,
agree with Kobe, like the
they have a
idea of like
secret backstage for a reason. They want people to know about games that are on the way but aren't quite ready to jump.
it isn't
Right.
exactly for everybody, yeah.
Yeah.
But like there's definitely some people who's like, yeah, I played the thing. That thing won't be coming out for some time, but I definitely played the thing. So, but I think Kobe's right. Like Square's like that just big list of everything that Square was dropping. If we were just able to see people playing it on the floor, they probably would have done better. Because I saw your tweet and there was just like a lot. Because you had mentioned, I think it was Saga Frontier. Completely forgotten that that game was being remade and
Oh
it
yeah,
came
yo,
out.
that was So it's so crazy. Outside of my tweet, there was another game which is actually on my radar called Romancing Saga, which
Yeah,
apparently is like one of the best hidden gems on PS2, and that released like December 29th, like completely random day,
yeah,
and reviewers were like, "This game is like this remaster is great. Like the added characters, it runs at 60 frames. They made things a little bit more manageable, quality of life." Not talked about anywhere. I mean, you can find
right.
reviews, but it's such a shame.
Yeah. This is why they need to be purchased.
So,
Do it.
do you guys
They don't want it.
think? Oh, do you guys think E3 going away is almost like going to cause some issues, or do you think it's a good thing? Let's see how Summerfest handles it. Let's see how PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox. Maybe they're gonna elevate their own shows now.
I think like E3 going away, I think it really does suck. Um, I don't think it's a good thing for the industry, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing either. Um, I feel like these corporations, and I'm mainly talking about the console holders. Um, they saw E3 as a opportunity where you had a chance to really grow your brand, and you had just as much of a chance to like kill your brand. Like PlayStation 3 died at E3 when they announced the price. Xbox One died at E3 when they announced that they were going all in
The
on
cable
You
box.
can do
Yeah,
football
when they
and
just
watch
announced.
cable
No, no, no.
TV.
When they just announced, it was just the announced. God.
So I mean, but there's also examples of games that brought made you put you at the forefront of gaming with when your E3 announcement. When PlayStation
Do
2
you
dropped
remember the?
when they dropped that first
Do you remember
Killzone
the?
trailer, and we thought that games was going to really look like that.
True.
Like
Do you remember the
Watch
reveal
Dogs.
yeah,
for
Watch
Black Ops?
Dogs. Um,
Black
When
Ops.
they
Yes, I
first
do
announced
remember
the
the Black
first
Ops
Black
one.
Ops. How
yeah,
how dope that
Ooh,
was.
yeah.
that looks so dope.
Gears
Wasn't
of
the
War.
same.
I mean,
Still a good game.
there have been iconic moments at E3 that have changed that has changed the generation for a console manufacturer for the better or for worse. And I think they saw this and they said, and COVID gave them the opportunity to just kind of change how they do things. And when you can control the narrative, you may not have those great, big home runs that you got at E3, but at the same time, control your narrative as a Sony or as an Xbox or as a Nintendo. You don't have to worry about the crushing loss that you can suffer at E3 when you have an absolute failure of a show, and then 2 hours later, your competitor just knocks it out the park. So, I think that's one of the big reasons that they have decided to move away from that stage. I mean, Nintendo and Sony were the first ones to leave. I think Xbox tried to stay as long as they could because they're actually on the ESA board who runs E3. But if no
Also,
one's
right
coming,
there.
yeah, yeah. If no one's coming, what can you do? So it's unfortunate. I wish it would have stayed around. I wish I would have been able to go during the era of the booth babes and all that when E3 was lit.
What a
But
time to be alive.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to
man.
go to a TGS at some point in my life.
yeah, TGS would be cool. I don't think TGS has booth babes though. So
Agreed.
With G Fuel. Oh man.
Well, E3 won't say RIP just yet. But more of a like we hope
See
you
you
get
later.
better.
Well, the
Yeah,
thing
See you later.
yeah.
I think Microsoft will go to a E3 if there is an E3. What the question is, what can the ESA board do to entice Sony to come? And Nintendo to come. If you can get Sony and Nintendo to come to E3, E3 comes back to life. Microsoft is gonna be there no matter what because they're on the ESA board. They have their own building right next to the E3 building where they were doing their own show anyway. I just think it's a matter of you have to entice the other two players to show up because the other two players show up. All the publishers are coming. Square's coming. CD Projekt Red, Ubisoft.
I think you need to just need two.
Well,
I think you just need two out of three.
Yeah, if you get Sony and Xbox there, they'll all come as well because most of the games that the third parties make are geared towards those two platforms. So if you get those two there, then for sure. But if you can get all three, then I mean that's pretty much all it takes right now. You need to be on the phone with Sony trying to figure out how to get them. You need to be on the phone with Nintendo trying to figure out how to get them there. Because Microsoft's gonna
Sony's going to charge you extra, like how they do with their cross-platform games. We lose profit, you paying us.
If you have to pay,
You got to pay that E3 tax.
If you have to pay for Sony, if you have to pay for Sony to come, then pay for them to come. Because I mean, like,
got to pay them extra.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
Extra?
Not paying extra.
I also think
you're
it was.
You're not paying Xbox to come, and you're not paying Nintendo to come. If you got to pay Sony to show up, you pay them to show up.
That's all right. Just let Sony wet the beak a little.
I also think it's also you got to factor in like when it came to the E3 show, it's like they had to plan their show, but it's like they didn't have to like the actual event was already like planned. You feel me? They just had to do their own thing.
They had to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, they just had to be there. I mean, but doing their own thing, they realized they can still get that audience, they can still get that big stage without having to pay for booth space and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
so
that is a big
like you there's no E3, but nobody like Nintendo Direct is still hot. You feel me? Like it gets views. People are excited when those come around, even when they ain't talking about shit.
What do you guys think about having an E3 by like every other year as opposed to annually? And I say that because of dev costs and dev cycles for some of these games. I mean, for example, we want Wolverine, but if we had an E3 this year, most likely we're not going to see Wolverine. Or like for what's it called, Hellblade 2. They're probably not ready to show something. But maybe if it doesn't, it's probably going to come out before May next year. But I think maybe having it every other year. No, that's a whole other thing. But I'm just trying to see, like, let's give them credit, right? They're going with a whole new technology. They've got all these voice actors, action people that they didn't have for the last time, so they're going to need some time. And I'm using that as an example. Like a lot of these studios can't show something every 12 months, maybe every 24 months. Maybe we need to change the standard of what E3 shows at. Like the Olympics. You know, I kind of
Smart
think of it
play,
like that.
actually. I think that's a really
Actually,
smart play.
shit.
Because the one thing we complain about so much, like, why show up if you've got nothing to show?
Right.
Exactly.
All right, so
I mean,
like,
Kofi, with that, you could do like a start of gen and then like a mid gen, and that could be the cycle.
see,
Yeah.
the
Like
issue to me
like
is
you get your hardware reveals at E3, and then you get somewhere halfway in that cycle is another E3 to kind of
Yeah,
sell you forward to the next.
I feel like the bigger issue though is that even if you do it every other year, it's like the E3 has become like the All-Star game. Like back in the day, the All-Star game used to be competitive. Like we're trying to win. We want to beat you. We want to stop you. But now it's like they don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to compete and risk themselves in that space. We'll risk ourselves throughout the rest of the year, but we don't want to go to this one make or break showing. I really think they don't want that.
Yep, it's gone the way of the Pro Bowl.
Like, and does Sony really want to be on a want to compete or against a Microsoft now that has what they have in their arsenal with soon to be ABK plus Bethesda plus all the other little studios that they purchased and are growing.
I mean, Nintendo's been an underdog for the longest. I mean, Sony, when they get pushed to the brink, they pull out some greatness.
Well,
Sony needs to get pushed to the brink.
Nintendo said, we're not going to compete against you guys anymore. We're going to create our own little console that does its own little niche thing, and people are going to come over here and play.
Yeah, and they're doing great.
Yeah, but they stepped away from like we're throwing haymakers with you guys. Yeah, we're not doing that.
Well,
we're still going to make. We're still going to make more money than you.
Right.
We're not going to compete with you anymore. We're just not doing it.
They're still also going to release trailers of games that people are more excited about than anything else.
Yeah.
So
I mean, tomorrow,
right?
Legend of Zelda tomorrow.
They're going to make more money.
Gameplay.
Sell more units. They're going to have games that people are more excited about. So why what do you mean they're not going to compete? What are you talking about?
They're not competing with the same games though. Like they're just not.
Okay,
but Microsoft and Sony compete. They have basically the same games on both platforms. Like that's not something that Nintendo has. A lot of the games that Nintendo has is not on every other platform. So Xbox and Sony are competing for the same games. They're competing for the same gamer. Nintendo is not. Nintendo has their own niche thing, and everyone, whether you have a PlayStation or Xbox, you're not like console warring against it. You're just like, no, I'm gonna get my Switch and I'm gonna have me a little good time. And when I'm done having my good time on my Switch, then I'll go console war on my PlayStation or my Xbox. It's like it's like Nintendo's like Switzerland. Like nobody cares about the outside world when they're on their. They only care about the outside world once they hop on their PlayStation.
This is true.
I can get that.
That's what I mean by not competing. I'm not saying they're not competing in the video game space, but they're not competing against Xbox.
Yeah, they're
PlayStation
not
for the same thing. They're not like they're their own.
Their target audience is not the same. Like Nintendo already knows. Like you can look at the attach rate for all their software. Like they already know. Like they have an absolutely entrenched fan base. Like anybody who thinks Zelda isn't going to sell a bajillion fucking copies
like
in a month is very delusional.
The GameCube was literally like their last console competing like toe to toe with Xbox and PlayStation. After that, when they went to Wii and all that, they pretty much stopped competing with them directly. They just were, competing for customers in the gaming space, but they weren't necessarily saying, choose us over Xbox, choose us over PlayStation. They said, no, just get us, and if you get a PlayStation or Xbox too, that's
Best family game, family friendly games that everyone can play. I mean, people like if you come to think about it, everyone keeps on trying to copy all the Nintendo games. They try to copy Smash Brothers. Didn't work out so well. People try to copy Mario Party. I mean, they got some good ones on PC, but not the same as Mario Party. They're trying to copy Mario Kart. I mean, look, Sega All-Star Racing is still one of the best kart games that could have competed with Mario. I don't know why Sega dropped the ball on that one. All-Star Racing Transform Hidden Gem on 360 on PC. I don't know why they dropped that, but yeah, Nintendo they went complete as everyone's trying like, oh, we're going to get these cinematics up. Nintendo's like, no, we got these family friendly things. It doesn't have to look the prettiest. I mean, it looks good enough and it plays great. That's all they care about. Well, except for recently. I mean, I'm sorry, that Switch is chugging. Like, I get it, Nintendo, but it's time. It's time. Give us some slightly better hardware. But
chips. So you run out of chips, you get in the Switch.
Them Tegra chips. You know how many of those Tegra chips they have? That Nvidia has like sitting in warehouses that are not being used. How many Nvidia shields that have not been sold? So they're gonna take those damn Tegra chips, take them out those Nvidia shields, and throw them back into a Switch.
Yes, and
Yeah.
the more Joy-Con drift you get, the better, because you're gonna go buy another Switch until all these damn cores are gone. We're not gonna have this full of inventory.
No, bro, it's not even the drift. It's the special edition consoles, bro. They dropped the Zelda joint. People are buying the fuck out of that already. Like,
Bro, I want that joint so bad too.
Because you know what?
Hey,
If you're a Switch fan, you don't mind having 6 Switches laying around your house. You know, you just buy another one. They're not that expensive that you feel bad about buying it.
You get one like legit Nintendo Switch. You get like 4 $200 mobile Switches to go.
Yeah.
All your games are on all 4 of them. All your save data, cloud save. It's just like
Kofi had a perfectly good working Switch. They released a Switch in a color that he liked, and he was like having like bed sweats at night, contemplating if he should buy it.
I don't know, guys.
Yo, that's facts.
But
I don't know. I don't know what to get there.
But I mean, I kind of going back to the topic though about like conventions. So I think there's one thing that like people miss out on, and that's like very important is like when you watching something on stream is not the same as like being there and like in person. Like being there in person, like shows just hit different. Like even though like you guys already know, besides the other convention I mentioned, like yes, I do go to KatsuCon, I do go to Otakon, do go to BlurCon. It's like being at those shows, like being at conventions in person, interacting with people, talking about ideas, being excited for something, meeting like people, like that's like an underrated thing. And I understand that like all COVID hit and everyone's like, oh, I want to stay inside. Everybody's scared of everybody, but that interaction, meeting new people in that community is like that's like a really big thing that people are sleeping on.
Yeah, that is true. But even not being there, like, all right, being as a person who has never been to E3, there was value in you know, like when they had Tech TV and G4 TV and all these other outlets where you were able to attach yourself to an Adam Sessler or, you know, someone else who did these shows, and they became a trusted source of information for you. So when they went to the show and they got a chance to play the game and tell you what they thought about it, that was impactful for you because you saw the trailer. The trailer got you hyped, and now a couple people that you trust got their hands on the game because they're at the show and they're telling you that the game is great. So I saw the game, it looks great, and now I got other people telling me that the game is great. You know, like you don't get that with a PlayStation show or a Xbox show now. Because they're getting it at the same time we're getting it, and you know if they get a chance to play it, they get a chance to play it. But a lot of these people aren't big enough to Microsoft or Sony to say, hey, we're gonna fly you in before this show so you can check out the game and give your impression after we drop, you know, that video.
Well, I don't want to use it as a reference, but we literally had a fan base of a streamer like sent. Well, she didn't directly send them, but she indirectly sent people over to sorry, Miss Lee, to Leah. What's her name? Leah Wong. Just because of Ada Wong.
The topic one lady. Yeah, we don't want to.
Gao.
Lily Gao.
Lily Gao. I don't want to disrespect her name, but
we will leave her in peace.
Yeah, like
I didn't say her name just to give her peace. I was like, you know, she's already just take away her social. I'll just if you know who. She is,
but yeah, like honestly, like I think that like India, Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, they want to control the narrative for their exclusive. That's fine. I mean, I honestly think that E3 can come back because of all the interactions and like there's just things at conventions. Conventions hit different compared to watching it from a screen. You're not really you can say that you're attached, you can try to emulate it, but it's not the same. Like you got to be there. Same thing with when people say, "Oh, just go OnlyFans." No, just be there, meet them. Like heck, you got not only that, you got like they said, like around like 2020, 2021, it was like the year of the indie developers. There are so many indie developers that could take the place of honestly of Sony, PlayStation, Nintendo. Heck, like Vampire Survivor, one of the most simplest indie games exploded. Like Remnants from the Ashes.
Can you charge the developer of Vampire Survivors even $35,000 for a booth on your stage when you were charging like Sony and Xbox? Like,
you don't need a stage. You don't even need to charge.
I'm just saying booth space in general. Like, you know.
I mean, you can get a smaller booth space at conventions. It's like what, like maybe like a $1,000 or even less than that.
Not at E3.
Like you can get like a bunch. Okay, so what I'm saying is that E3 can adjust instead of having like this big stage of everything. They can do like 100 little stages of straight like all these different indie games. Like, yeah, they're not going to have the biggest thing, but then they can have like the biggest announcement for like E3 could be like, yo, we checked out these indie titles. This is the best one we think is going to come out. Like they can take control of the narrative.
The other thing is with you also having a chance to get hands on with shit that like you join an exclusive club. Like, hey, I got to play this before majority of the world. You know what I'm saying? Like we can't really say that anymore. Like sure, journalists and shit can like even when like you could get like 5 different coverages for each E3 back in the day. Like you had the G4 coverage, you had the IGN coverage. Like everybody had like their whole little cast for like covering this, and it was completely different. So I didn't watch the IGN cast because I didn't like the people that were on it. Like I didn't. I just didn't like them.
You should have saw the review for RE4. So apparently the people were complaining that they couldn't get past the first part of that village where you basically have to fight the Chainsaw Man. They were saying that the difficulty spike was too high.
That's the game.
What?
That's what journalists said.
Apparently, you could counter that village, that chainsaw.
Well, you can counter him, yeah, but your knife breaks. It takes off a huge amount of durability when you counter the Chainsaw Man.
And if
journalists aren't gamers.
They're honestly not. They're journalists. They're journalists first and gamers second.
Yeah, we've seen it with Cuphead.
We thought it with Doom. Heck, Doom. Like the guy had a hard time.
Doom? Yeah, Doom is another one.
I'm about to say.
As a gamer, I mean, all right, no one wants to get beaten to the ground, but as a gamer, part of the enjoyment is the challenge and figuring it out.
Journalists don't like challenges. Like I said, like when I saw that article, I think it was either on Kotaku or one of them talking about that the village part was too hard, that the difficulty spike was high, and I played the whole game. I'm like, bro, you guys do realize it gets much worse than this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, being a gamer, being a gamer, part of it is embracing the challenge of playing that game, and then once you kind of figure out a couple of the mechanics, the game is really fun.
But yeah, plus you get to meet people, hotel parties, the after parties, people run around in Halo suits all day. Like you guys are focused on all this stuff. Like conventions are fun.
Yeah,
they are, bro. I mean, I went to Anime USA in college in Virginia. Fucking.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
There were some wild things. There were some wild things going on.
Oh,
they found a hotel with upside down pineapple. The hotel with upside down pineapple. You found it.
You just had to be there. You had to be there. Like we caught people fucking in conference rooms, like in the middle of the night, like they weren't being used. Like it was all sorts of stuff going.
Yeah,
I imagine these gamers like
anime conventions are wild. I'm pretty sure DreamCon is wild. That's like a new anime convention. So,
going from like a hentai room to like a fucking rave, like where else are you gonna do that?
Exactly. I say you're gonna have like a whole like I'm just saying like game suit like the way how they had the whole orchestra during like the Game Awards with that one guy who was going on. I call him the Windmaster because he first had a flute, then he had some other wind instrument, then he had another wind instrument. I was like, damn, this is going off. But like being there for those moments, like a lot of people, it's not the same as watching over a screen. Yes, if you just want information on what the latest and greatest thing, then yeah, stay at home, watch games. But the experience is like people undermine the experience. And I mean, don't go outside and not touch grass, but go outside, get on a plane, go to a hotel room, wear your favorite gamer shirt, rep your PlayStation, Sony Pony, or Microsoft, or Boxhead, or whatever, or Nintendo weaklings, amateur underdogs. Like you can rep stuff, have talking, have a good time, like experience new things, experience some new demos that you will not see on the E3 showcase. Like there's a lot of value in like these actual having coming to these conventions that a lot of people are just sleeping on.
Yeah, like how can like things like Comic-Con still be going on and be a thing even post COVID? Like it's still, I'm going this year. Like June is right around the corner. I'm about to be at Denver Comic-Con. That's what it is.
I'm
Yeah.
going to New York.
It's exactly it's still going strong. Like it's not going nowhere. And
I'm about to
there's
say-
multiples of those a year. Like there's several. It's not even
and there's
one.
I think it's just because Comic-Con is not necessarily it is a marketing environment, but it's not necessarily like a competitive environment. Like I said, I think the competitive element of E3 is what kind of drove it away, on top of the cost associated with that.
No,
event.
but that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
you forgot DC and Marvel constantly competing with each other.
That too. That too. No, that's true. But
I'm about to say actually DC got their ass whooped because they didn't even put out that many comics. Marvel kind of won that last one.
I say DC is the only thing I recognize DC for is cartoon movies. Like I don't really, like they're trying to debunk their own comics, saying Batman doesn't eat pussy. That's not superhero like, so they don't even know what they're doing.
Oh no, they actually DC's doing cleanup. They're cleanup. Superman's no longer this bisexual weirdo. Robin's no longer a gay person. Like they fixed up the narrative. Starfire no longer has that weird daughter and a single mom. They fixed that.
They tried to do too much with their characters, trying to reach new audiences.
Woke. Just say they threw in the woke audience thing and it did not work out. They lost a lot of money.
They tried to do that with Miles Morales at first, but they quickly realized that hey, this isn't really attaching people to the character.
Yeah, but back to the whole E3 thing. Big players leave out. Fine, let the big players leave out. It's always the little players. Let's get these indie developers back in here. I want to test out some of these indie games. I'm not gonna wait for all day for like a Nexus Fest for Steam to play demos. Like I want to play these things in person. I want to like meet these developers, meet these smaller people. Heck, like shit. Let me go to like a gaming convention and run into Gunsmans who just randomly made Remnants from the Ashes, and I got to play it like 3 months or like 6 months before the game came out, and I knew about this game, but no one else did. That could easily be a word piece for like to get the game out there. I'm like, yo. This game's coming out. This shit is legit. Like, come on now. Like, you don't need the big dogs. Let the big dogs do what they want to do. Get the little dogs in. We're more than numbers. That Ant movie.
People be excited just to wait in line. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? It's like going to Disney World. Like you might not ride everything that day. You just want to be there. That's not the point.
I would love to attend E3. That's all I would say. I would definitely love to.
Hopefully one day we still can.
Yeah.
But I think it is fair to say, my friends, we have gone above and beyond in our conversation. And I think it is time to wrap it up. Sure, I'm probably tired. Except for Jubei, he got a whole extra hour. We don't care about him or his energy or his feelings over here at the Vitamin G podcast, particularly after posting all that DBZ stuff. Don't care.
Oh, I was just trying to drum up excitement for the part 2 in a couple of months, bro. That's all.
But let's slide over to our outros, man. Nappy, let's start with you.
Okay, guys. If you guys want to find me, you guys can find me on Twitter. Just type in Twitter /NappySenshi. You can also find me on YouTube, GlobalNet search bar, type in Nappy Senshi, and I will pop up and I do controller reviews. Like I said, I'm currently going to do a review this week for the new Thrustmaster steering wheel that they made for their controllers. Also, I got to set up as a fighting pack because you brought up Tekken and Street Fighter, so I got the fighter pack installed at the same time. So this is my fighter racing. And also, I got another controller, the Victrix BFG, which is another module controller that I got the fighting pack set up for right now.
Hold up. That BFG looking kind of crispy there for the FGC over there. I see that. I see that.
Yeah, so yes, I'm going to be
in an optimal position there.
Yeah, and also it is mechanical clicks and short clicks too. So I'm going to be doing a review on the steering wheel right here for racing games, which is going to be down a week. This is probably going to take around 2 or 3 weeks. But then also the biggest thing is I'm actually going to be comparing these controllers to each other because they both work for PC and they're both module controllers. So which one is the better module controller? Who knows?
Both these are Nappy's going to have everyone switch modules.
It is. It's the way to go.
Do you have a fighting game on your PC you can test that on?
Tekken 7.
Okay.
All DLC characters.
Okay.
And Street Fighters too. I haven't played Street Fighters in a minute though. I'll admit that.
We love to see it.
Moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Jubei, outro, my good sir.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find me at Jubei Sensei on everything that's not gaming platforms, including Twitter. Jubei X Sensei gaming platform, of course. This week I'm gonna be probably playing around on the Steam Deck. I got some emulation stuff I wanted to do and test out on that. Outside of that, I don't know if y'all noticed, we hit over 100 subscribers on the channel. Not sure when that happened, but shouts to y'all out there that
Wait, what?
Yeah, we have 103.
Oh,
I know that. Look at us.
Look at us.
shit. Well, YouTube has been pushing out a lot more podcasts lately.
We're
so-
recovering from the whole damage that FC caused us. Someone had to say it.
Broad case violence out there, man. You and them damn knees.
It's called violence
No.
for the
True. But yeah, it's gonna be nice to get back into a little bit more gaming this week, and it's not all, I did touch grass, but it's time for me to touch some plastic this week. So.
Kofi, my friend, outro.
As usual, guys, you can catch me on Twitter at creative_Kofi and playing Octopath Traveler, playing Star Ocean finally, and then most likely getting into some of the level 5 games. Like I said, Danbou Senki and Megaton Musashi Cross, which I'll talk about hopefully sometime in late April, early May.
All right. Pharaoh.
Hey, it's your boy Pharaoh. You can find me on Twitter at Pharaoh Bizarre and anywhere you like to watch streamers at Blame Pharaoh.
Excellent. Guys, of course, it is me. Thanks for tuning in. Hero, X86, pretty much everywhere. Just playing games, man, and still like thinking about doing something, but I don't know what that is. So stay tuned. But far more importantly, me, thank you all for tuning in to the podcast. Make sure to anywhere podcasts are played, Spotify, YouTube Music, actually just YouTube. We will be found there. Apparently, you guys are looking for us because we now crossed over the sub-marks. Like, most definitely appreciate that. I always said you literally could be doing anything else, but you decided to listen to us. So we always be thankful for that. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and see you next week.
Peace.
later. By the way, you guys forgot about me. Peace.
Oh my
shit!
I did not stop streaming
I'm
yet,
having a
so go
flashback.
ahead. Give your outro, Omar.
then we have
Give your
not.
outro.
And so last before
Oh my god!
Omar, please take us out.
Okay, please look up my account on Twitter. Shout to the crew. I'm gonna go back and get Osheta with Octopath because that shit is addictive. Also, hit the like button and follow everyone. Later.
I on the